Right, shall we get this thing going? Hello, hello, hello. All right, grabbing a seat. Hey. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. And the obvious way to start is to thank our gracious host, Misty and Dr. Gomez and all the good people of USD and the Brink and the SBDC. This is really a very amazing gathering. The school I've been following for a long time. It's obviously a great institution, but I just love all the extra little things that the university's been doing recently to grow. To put San Diego further on the map in the eyes of the tech world that exists outside our community. So huge kudos to that group. So 300 people here. They got the $200,000 fund closed. However, there is still room. 200,000 was the floor, not the ceiling. So if you want to get in more $6,000 increments, you're more than welcome. It's a smart investment. And I want to just go a little bit off script and talk a little bit about like the angel community right now and a little bit why I think it's a great time to be an angel investor in San Diego. So I run the San Diego Venture Group, so I play more at the VC level. And the amount of venture capital coming into San Diego right now is the best it's been since 2000. It's cranking. We went from 1.3 billion last year to 2.5 billion. I'm sorry, 2 years ago, 1.3 to 2.5 billion last year invested. It's super healthy. VCs are coming down looking for deals. I'm getting calls every week looking for deals. At the same time, the angel environment in San Diego is a little light. So that's why this effort is so important. But it's a great time to get in because the VCs are coming to follow and they're looking hard for deals. They're paying up on price. It's just been super active. So it's makes all of our jobs a lot more fun, to be honest with you. So really good time. I get to start by introducing Dr. Jaime Gomez. He has a BS in Industrial Engineering, an MS in Applied Science and Systems Design, a PhD in Applied Economics, so he's probably smarter than all of us here today. And he's got global experience. He's got degrees from Mexico, Canada, the US, and Japan, so he's global. He's worked in major multinationals, mid-sized public and small family-owned companies. So he's kind of done it all, and he's only 32. So I would like to say that USD is lucky to have him, but bigger than that, San Diego's very lucky to have him. Thank you, Dr. Gomez.
I gave him $20 to actually have this introduction. It is actually really nice to be here celebrating the joy of life together as a big family. And this morning, when I was thinking about what to say at the beginning of this event, the first question is, why are we here? Well, we are here because we basically fundamentally believe in propelling new businesses, in creating new wealth, in generating employment, and of course, receiving a robust return on investment. No need to emphasize that. However, we are here because we want to dream together with these 7 entrepreneurs which are presenting today. We want to dream together and work together in helping these entrepreneurs going through difficulties, challenges, but also opportunities, promising times. Let me just make a parenthesis. About 6 months ago, we were trying to identify what name we were going to give to the Small Business Development Center here at the University of San Diego. And Mr. Rosk was conducting a set of activities, marketing activities, and eventually the name was The Brink. And I was trying to understand the meaning of The Brink. And the consultant said, well, it is all about being a rebel and being a renegade. And I said, rebel and renegade. What about innovators and disruptors? Then I bounced these 4 ideas, rebels, renegades, innovators, and disruptors, with people who are not as chronologically sophisticated as I am. Yes, I am old. And they said, Professor Gomez, we prefer rebels and renegades. Okay, I am not just chronologically sophisticated, I'm chronologically challenged. Anyway, We really want to build new prosperity in the School of Business. We want to be relevant to the communities around San Diego and other regions close to San Diego. In fact, I just saw Marquise Jackson. A year and a half ago, together we were contemplating the possibility of doing something meaningful and relevant. And the Small Business Administration here in this area and the School of Business of the University of San Diego decided to join forces. And then as a result of that, we have here, only a year after operations, the Brink, the Small Business Development Center, is now the #1 business incubator here and accelerator in the San Diego area. That implies 200 active companies being advised and $30 million in capital infusion. This is tremendous, and we have a tremendous leader and a tremendous team. So congratulations to Misty Ross, wherever she is, somewhere around. Yeah. Let me just finalize with a little bit about the school, 1 minute. We in the School of Business really believe in the co-creation of wealth, sustainable wealth. And here we have 7 opportunities to create not only new companies and new ventures, but also the possibility to serve society. We really believe in the Penta bottom line approach to the business enterprise. People, socially inclusive, planet, ecologically friendly, obviously profits, but we also want to have peace and prosperity. The Penta bottom line to the business enterprise. And this is what our purpose is. So change making, pioneering, wealth creation, economic activity, inclusive opportunities. These are all fundamental pillars to build a more prosperous and peaceful society. Be welcome to this tremendous event that we're organizing together this morning. Congratulations to all of you.
All right. We have got a great first panel for you, experts in finance. I would like to introduce our moderator, Cindy Gatlin. Cindy started investing when she was 15, when she was only about this tall. If you've seen her stand up, she's kind of tall. She's also been in the trenches. She was a portfolio manager, picking stocks, doing all the work before elevating up and doing 9 years in an advisory positions at large publicly traded investments. She is a financial guru and a perfect person to lead this panel. So thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Mike. First, I want to make sure y'all can hear me. Perfect. Thank you for the lovely introduction. A little bit to add on to that, I should let you know I'm a wealth manager. I manage the wealth for individuals, small business owners, and the C-suite execs. Forgive me if this may or may not work, in which case I'll move to my Mickey Mouse microphone. I have a 4-year-old at home. I'd like to introduce you to my illustrious panel, beginning with the gentleman to my left here, Matthew Goldberg. He's a principal of valuations and business analytics at BDO. He'll be giving you his background coming from that of an accounting firm. To his left is Trevor Acers, managing director at Objective Capital. He'll give you an investment banking perspective. In the center is Jeremy Glazier. He's both a member and the co-chair of the Venture Capital and Emerging Companies practice at Mint. He's an M&A attorney, but much more than that. To his left is David Booz, co-founder of Team Vibe. He's a serial entrepreneur, and many of you in the room will be able to identify with him because he's been in the trenches more than once. And last, but certainly not least, is Jenna Layton-Jones. She's a shareholder at Petty Cohn. She's an employment labor attorney who can hopefully help keep you out of the courtroom. Forgive me, I'm going to move this. So before we dive into the panel, I want to tell you how this panel came about. Misty and I were having a coffee a few months ago, and I was talking to her about some entrepreneurs I've worked with, and I was discussing some of the problems they've encountered. Some of them were avoidable, some were unavoidable. The painful problems for me were the ones that could have been avoided, because I knew with time and experience from certain service providers, these folks could have avoided those problems, and some people even lost their businesses as a result of this inexperience. So as I started chatting with my friends, I found out they had similar problems in their industries. And that's how this panel came about, was we thought if we told you some of our war stories, we could help prevent those problems from happening to you and your startups. So on that note, I'd like to invite Jeremy to begin with one of his favorite war stories.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. So I have a question first. How many people remember the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? Go ahead. Remember that? Okay. Remember what the catchphrase from that movie was? Always be closing, right? ABC, right? Always be closing. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of a variation on that. Always be selling. When you start a company, you should always be thinking about what's the end game. And the end game is, again, unless it's a lifestyle business, the end game is going to be a sale or an IPO. And if you start your business with that mentality, there's a few things you're going to do, and this kind of leads into my story that will help you achieve that success. And I want to do a quick little disclaimer. BDO did not pay me no advertising dollars that were paid for what I'm about to say. But the story that I'm going to share with you is about a very successful client that came up during the internet boom, survived the internet crisis, the dot-com crash, and continued to have a good, strong business and was ready to get a sale to a very large, well-respected company. They came in to do due diligence, and what they saw was the company had never had its financial statements reviewed, much less audited, and lo and behold, what they thought was, I believe it was around $60 million of revenue, after applying the revenue recognition rules, was about half of that amount of money. So quick show of hands, how many people think that the valuation didn't change? Exactly. Okay? It was a disaster. The whole transaction came to a screeching halt. The company had to go back, hire accounting firms to come in, do the audits, fix all the revenue recognition problems, come up with a new revenue base, therefore a profit base, and then decided, given that, maybe not such a good time to sell right now. The good news of the story is ultimately they were able to sell. It was a very successful sale. Made some very wealthy people here in San Diego, but it was significantly delayed and it was not a lot of fun. So don't be cheap. Okay, here's the ad for BDO. Don't be cheap. Bring in the accounting firm early. If you can't afford an audit, which I'm telling you, you can because these firms are wonderful and they're really good at their pricing for small companies. But if you can't do that, at least get a review. Don't wait until the end to deal with your accounting issues.
And here's $20.
Wait, he's promised more than that.
Oh.
Okay, Trevor, you've also had some painful experiences as a result of accounting, correct or no?
Yeah, so we see this on a regular basis. So I think you live through these issues with entrepreneurs, where they tell you when you start the conversation, "Oh, my accounting's great. Accounting's in really good shape," and you have that moment of silence when you look at them and they look at you, and you ask them, "Are you audited?" "No." Who's the CPA? And kind of hear you go, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." So if you really can't talk to either an investor or a potential acquirer about revenue by customer, revenue by product line, product unit economics, service unit economics, that's the kind of due diligence issues that come up every single time. And that's where this good accounting starts to fall apart. That's when you realize that you don't have the professional. When you start looking at what the monthly reoccurring revenue is, and the very focused analysis comes, that's where you find out that accountant that you had that was $50 an hour, and what a great deal it was, just cost you several $1 million. And we see that on a daily basis.
So I guess the takeaway here is don't use the guy you golf with as your accountant. Please find someone who that is their specialty. Now, we've all talked about you without letting you talk. It's your turn, Matthew, Mr. BDO.
Yeah, apparently I don't need to say anything to make accounting look good. How about I'm not an accountant?
That's pretty good.
I'm on the advisory side at BDO, and one of the areas that I focus largely on is compensation issues. So I focus on valuation, but valuation and compensation go hand in hand. One of the things that I have seen more and more frequently is a lack, I guess, of perspective on what something is worth. So if you lay out a company that has raised capital, Series A and Series B, or they're raising Series B, oftentimes you would think Series B would be higher. So within that structure, founders and CEOs will oftentimes have common stock. So when you're raising Series B capital, sometimes that common stock is purchased, so there's some liquidity for the founders and CEOs. That purchase price may be at the same price as the new financing, so say $10. But realistically, the value of that common stock is likely less because the Series B investors have a liquidation preference. They want their money back first before the common stock gets the money. What that creates is a huge tax issue for the founders and the CEOs because it's essentially compensation. And I have been through numerous arguments with investors, through other advisors, other accounting firms, that is not, they say it's not a compensation expense, but it absolutely is. That's a huge compensation, unexpected compensation for the CEOs and founders.
Thank you. I'd also like to hear Jenna's experience, and then we'll move on to David's.
So, as I'm sure I don't have to tell most of you, being an employer in California is really difficult. California has a plethora of employment laws, the majority of which are extremely employee-friendly. As a corollary to this point, California is a very litigious state, particularly in the employment context. And there is a whole army of plaintiff attorneys out there just waiting for employers to slip up and run afoul of one of these many laws so that they can help their clients and themselves cash in by filing a lawsuit. Now, as a small company or a startup, the last thing you want is to have very expensive, very time-consuming litigation hanging over your head. And the best way to stay out of trouble and stay out of the courtroom is to have and to follow a legally compliant employee handbook. So my war story arises in the employee handbook context. A few years ago, I was defending a small company up in LA in a wage and hour class action lawsuit. And as we do with any client at the outset of the engagement, we sat down with the client, discussed the claims, and we gave the client a list of documents that we would need to see in order to analyze the potential exposure in the case. And the first document we asked for was the employee handbook. It's always the first document that we look at to try to figure out, okay, what is this company actually doing in terms of its employment or in this case, its wage and hour practices? So the client says, sure, no problem. They email it over. I open it up, I go to the index, and I see, oh, wage and hour policies are on page 14. Great. So I'm flipping through the handbook, expecting to find an overtime policy, a meal and rest break policy, some other wage and hour policies. And I get to page 14, and what do I find? I find nothing. There is literally a blank page on page 14. So I quickly close the handbook, I pick up the phone, I call my client, and I say, hey, I was just looking through that employee handbook you sent over. I noticed there was a blank page where your wage and hour policies are supposed to be. Where did you get your handbook? And the owner says, oh, yeah, our insurance broker sent that over. He said he pulled it off the internet. It took every fiber of my being not to make a very snarky remark. We got off the phone. We did some additional analysis and determined that, shockingly, the company was not in compliance with California law in its wage and hour practices. So we sat down with the client and basically had a heart-to-heart. We said, look, we can litigate this wage and hour class action through trial if that's what you guys want. But the reality is, one, it's going to be very expensive. Number two, it's going to be very difficult for us to convince a jury that you complied with your legal obligations when your handbook indicates that you didn't actually have any policies or practices that you were consistently following. And beyond that, it's going to be difficult for us to garner any sort of goodwill with the jury in an attempt to convince them that you at least tried to comply with the law when it appears that you didn't even bother to open or read your own handbook before disseminating it to your employees. So we obviously said it a little bit more nicely and more diplomatically than that, but the client got the picture, and we ended up settling the case for 6 figures, which is a ton of money, but was actually pennies on the dollar compared to what the company's potential exposure was. So quick takeaways from that. Number one, employment litigation is really expensive, and you want to do everything in your power to avoid it. The best way to do that is to have and comply with a good employee handbook. Don't pull your handbook off the internet. Don't get it from your insurance broker. Don't get it from your dog's previous owner's third cousin who worked for a company 20 years ago. It is well worth the investment to spend a little bit of money, and usually it's not a lot of money, to have your employee handbook either drafted or reviewed by an employment law attorney or by an HR consultant, somebody who is intimately familiar with California law, and make sure that the handbook is compliant and that you can be confident, therefore, that if you're compliant with your employee handbook, your company too is legally compliant. So in this case, an ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure.
Trevor?
Yeah, it's funny because we spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs, and when we have these conversations with entrepreneurs, I think it's a lot about like the similar to the conversations I have with my 13-year-old daughter, where I give her very sage advice, and all she hears is wah 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 wah. I think when entrepreneurs hear this advice, what they're hearing is, hey, you should spend money and time on an issue that's really not burning today. Right? We worry about sales, I worry about customers, I worry about market traction. True. That's what is going to make me live or die. why should I take the time to think about these things? And they really aren't important that day. It's when your company's actually worth something and you've sown the seeds of HR problems. We see it quite often with companies. We had an issue in a transaction we just finished last year that HR issues became a major focal point of the transaction and almost sunk it. And had the company had some strategic thinking early on, the seeds wouldn't have been sowed. I see the same thing in accounting. And so I guess I speak to entrepreneurs in that don't go spend all day on these issues. Go make a call. Go have a 30-minute conversation with someone who can help you with the accounting issues or with the HR issues and ask them, don't give me 10 things I should be doing today and tell me what a terrible person I am. Tell me the 1 or 2 things I should proactively work on and tell me how little it's going to cost me.
Okay, Dave, I'm dying to hear your war story here. Dying.
So, Jenna, can we talk afterwards? I want to understand more about this employee handbook is about. So,
We'll have a conversation.
All right. So, no, I think Trevor's spot on, and I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience today as well. I'm not sure how I ended up here, but we all have war stories. But it's spot on. People, it's very difficult to focus on something as anything but a first priority as an entrepreneur. You're struggling to survive. You're struggling to get funded. You're struggling to get your product in the marketplace, keep your clients happy. So something that that is literally like a week or 2 or a month away, it's hard to focus on. But that being said, if you've ever taken the company through a sale, that's when you learn all those lessons, for better or for worse, right? Hopefully you can learn those beforehand. You get some good salient advice from your advisory board or your board, but they really are worth paying attention to. And the reality is, it doesn't take that much time to actually dot the I's and cross the T's. So, as far as war stories go, when Cindy asked me, hey, share a war story. Honestly, it was the first 10 war stories I could think of actually made me so sad, I realized I couldn't tell them to an audience and be entertained.
I nixed them all promptly. I was like, no, no negativity.
Those are the true war stories. But I think, on a finance panel, I think one that's particularly painful for me, and as an entrepreneur, is the issue of market timing, because that for me is one of the biggest challenges, right? So let's assume for a minute that ideation and execution and fundraising and all the things you spend all of your hard time doing as an entrepreneur all check the boxes on those things. Market timing is one of my personal biggest peeves, because you have virtually no control over it, right? And it doesn't just affect all the things I just mentioned, but it also affects your potential exit as well. So one simple example from my past was back in 2007. I founded a company called Talacy's, and we had done everything right in the sense of we'd raised about $1 million of some seed money. We had great market take up. We had a very well narrowly executed product that was doing exactly what it should, and clock ticking along, and we end up in 2008, 2009 in the recession, and we were ready for a proper full-on round A, right? And as many of you know, a lot, if not all, of major funds out there were very tight with capital because they had portfolio companies they had to sustain. They did not know how long the recession would last. And so people were very, very slow to make investment back then. And so we had, we're staring at our burn and, the challenge of our race in front of us and all of our best planning, and had to make a decision. Okay, do we find a way to weather this storm, not knowing how long it's going to be, or do we go ahead and scramble and make some sort of exit? Okay. And in this case, we actually scrambled. We had a very strong lead client who was a strategic, who was interested in buying the technology. We made a decent, honorable exit with the company at a multiple that was reasonable, but far from what it could have been, far from what it should have been, right? But it still pains me today because if we'd been able to hang out maybe 3.5, 4 more years, it would have been even bigger exit. But you just don't have a crystal ball in these things. So that's one war story I think we can all relate to.
I love that you referenced the crystal ball, because I'm always using that with my clients. I go, great, I can tell you where the markets are going when you polish up my crystal ball for me. Then I'll be able to tell you exactly where we're going with the Dow Jones.
So I know we were supposed to only have one war story, but I want to do something just because we had something that is very current, and I have some colleagues here who are going to love this when I tell this story. And I'm going to do this by just doing like a multiple choice, if I can do that with the audience, a multiple choice question.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I want you guys to answer. I'm going to give you 3 options, okay? So you've just created this really new, cool, cutting-edge product. And you've got some provisional patents and some trade secrets, but no patents are issued yet. Your main competitor calls you and says, we want you to come over, we want you to bring the product and leave it with us so we can take a look at it and decide if we should do a deal with you guys. So just leave it with us, we'll take a look at it, we'll get back to you. Okay, you have 3 choices, okay? Option A, this is great news, I'm so excited. You get on a plane, you fly there, and you leave the product with them and fly home and just wait excitedly to hear back on the deal that they're going to offer. B, you reply, how dumb do you think I am? Or C, I forgot what C was.
An NDA.
Yeah, right, I'm sorry.
An NDA,
An
non-disclosure.
NDA, thank you. So C is you actually go ahead and say, well, you know what, I have a better idea. Let's have a conversation about the nature of the deal we're going to do. Let's go ahead and come to some terms. Once we go ahead and actually have a real sense that there's a real deal here, let's get a good NDA in place. Now let's go ahead and get a term sheet with the deal. And then when we're really close, since you're a big competitor, and I really think this is a good deal, we'll sign the agreement at that time, and I'll give you the product, take a look. Okay. What do you think, A, B, or C? Everyone in favor of A, raise your hand. Okay, we have an A.
I love you were bold enough to put your hand up. Thank you.
Okay, everybody thinks B is the best answer. And then, of course, C, right? It's obviously C. Well, this client thinks A is the right answer, just FYI. So that's your war story, okay? Don't do that. You don't leave your product. And I can tell you from a direct war story related to this, not this client, but this is many years ago. I had a client who went through this exact same thing with a large medical product manufacturer. And this client had good patents, okay? And they could have actually sued to enforce these patents, but they didn't have any money. And the big medical companies do that. And this is an awful story. They took it, they copied it, they marketed it, and this poor little company couldn't afford to sue them. And it just wasn't a big enough market, and it just the complexity couldn't get, a contingency patent lawyer taken on, out of business, overdone, big company running off the top. That happens. Don't let you be that person.
And that sounds like something that obviously we would never do, but I will tell you, literally earlier this year, we had this exact conversation. Oh, I'm having great traction, medical device, having great traction, blah, blah, blah. I just got home, we left the device there. You what? You don't have any intellectual property around? No, we're going to. No.
It seems so obvious, right? And yet
we get excited, right? We get excited that this global acquirer is potentially interested in it.
Okay, I'm going to, well, first of all, to the individual who put their hand up, I want to know what company you work with and who your competitor is. Sorry to pick on you. But I'm now going to give this one over to Matthew, and I'd like to know, how do you value an early stage company?
Finger in the wind. Just kidding.
It's honest.
That's a great question. I think you really have to define what value is. And in the context of this room in venture capital, it's exactly what you would think, in that it's what somebody's worth paying for it. So one of the things as entrepreneurs, and especially within startups, is there's oftentimes inflated expectations of what value is. When we go in to help companies with valuation, it's oftentimes for some sort of compliance reason, compensation being one of those, maybe a transaction. One of the first things that we do is to look and see if capital has been raised. And if capital has been raised, that's a great starting point to determine value. If it hasn't been raised, then it's all about cost. It's all about market potential, and trying to, I guess, temper the expectations of the client in those circumstances. It is always a difficult conversation to tell somebody that their company is not worth $10 million. It's actually worth $5.
And Trevor, how many times have you seen this, especially where I see the other side of it, where they say, I need 10 million, but they haven't thought about what taxes are going to do to it. They haven't really thought about the repercussions of this number they've pinned their hopes on for years. They haven't really done the math behind it to decide if that really is the number they need or not.
Yeah,
we were discussing this.
We think the first question you should always ask when you talk about valuation is, so what do you want the valuation for? Because when we're talking about 409A valuations, which are stock option valuations, which is a word most entrepreneurs will eventually hear from their corporate attorney, we obviously want the valuation to be one way versus if we're talking about what it sells for, what we're realistically looking at, or how we want to look at it from tax purposes. Very, very different objectives, very different valuations. So in a sale process, we often have people come to us and say, well, here was my 401A valuation, or here was my option valuation that I received for tax purposes, and thus, and we have to kind of correct it. That's great. Let's look at what the market's going to value. So they're very different purposes. And when Matt works on companies, that's usually the first question they're asking. Oh, I want to get a valuation. Why? Taxes? So I want to show as little as possible, perhaps. Maybe it's 401A. I want to have my valuation as low as possible. Or do you want it in terms of estate and gift? Do you want it for a valuation in terms of sale? Very, very different mechanisms. Valuation is art.
All right, David, you
Perfect.
can either give your experience on this, or I'm going to give you a multiple choice question here. You can tell me how you would compare San Diego to other cities in the USA for startups. A or B?
I'll take B, only because the valuation conversation is horrible. Just in general. So I've been both here in San Diego. I was born in Chicago, but I spent 3 years in the Bay as well. So I've got a little smattering of kind of the West Coast experience as well. And I've got a different answer depending on what kind of company it is, or who the entrepreneur is, what stage of life they're in. I frequently would encourage if it's a young entrepreneur, they have the freedom to be where they want to be. I'll often encourage them to pick up, move to the Bay, get into a really high quality accelerator up there. Not because they don't love San Diego, but because the networks are very different. And we all know this. There are some real significant advantages in the Bay right now still that San Diego has not caught up with. Now, we're trying to, right? That's what this is all about, quite frankly, right? And it's not to disparage San Diego, because the flip side is, if you've already got a reasonably good network, if you've maybe had a company you've done before, San Diego is an absolutely fantastic place to build a startup company. Attrition of employees being, I think, the primary one, costs being the second, right? Very, very difficult in the Bay when your employee base turns over every 13 months because they vested their cliff and they leave to the next startup company, right? Very, very difficult to keep your efficiencies of your development up on track, at least for most companies, right? Tech companies especially. So San Diego's got that in spades. We've got a lot of loyalty with people who are here because they want to live the San Diego lifestyle, and they're extremely high quality people here. So two-part answer, right?
Trevor, you're giving me the look?
Well, I was just had a conversation yesterday with Mike about this, my friend about this, which is, if you look at what happened in San Diego, specifically in technology in the last 10 years, the sophistication is incredible. See the change. We're not quite yet at the Bay. You can't go to Starbucks and create a startup team. But we're getting there, and it's incredible to see the energy that we have specifically around the technology.
I've been here 17 years now, and it's night and day. It's night and day. Especially, actually, I think the last 5 or 6 years, I've seen more encouraging signs the last 5 or 6 years than I saw the first year.
All right. I'm actually a transplant from Dallas, Texas, although I'm originally a Canuck. I've only been here a few years, but I have been impressed with its growth over the few years I've lived here, and actually knew quite a bit about the city coming from Dallas, because I would spend a lot of time investing in the companies out here. So to me, it was rather exciting to move here to the headquarters of many companies I adored. All right, for Jenna, I want to ask you, what are the top mistakes that startups and small businesses make in employment law?
So the biggest mistakes I see usually are in the wage and hour arena. The California wage and hour laws are extremely complex, and they are filled with minutia. If you ever can't sleep at night, read the California Labor Code. You'll be asleep in no time. But really, a lot of companies make mistakes when it comes to basic things like, when do they have to pay their employees overtime? When do they have to provide meal and rest breaks? The California Labor Code says you have to give your non-exempt employees a meal break by the end of their 5th hour of work. What does that mean? By the time they work 4 hours and 59 minutes, or by the time they work 5 hours and 59 minutes? Yes, the hours that means 4 hours and 59 minutes. But a lot of companies make mistakes with very, very basic rules, which, as I said earlier, lots of companies get sued in class actions, and those can be very, very expensive, and potential penalties and exposure can add up very, very fast. The other big area that I see a lot of companies making mistakes is in the area of classification. Two types of classification, whether or not someone should be classified as exempt, i.e. salary, or whether they should be classified as non-exempt and be entitled to overtime and annual rest breaks. And then the other type of misclassification we see a lot is whether or not someone is properly classified as an independent contractor or whether they should be an employee. And this is a really hot button issue in California right now, because there was a big California Supreme Court case that came out about 6 months ago that basically made it a lot harder for companies to classify individuals, workers, as independent contractors. And it's really kind of changing the landscape of the independent contractor employee dichotomy in California. So again, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. When you're figuring out how your workers should be classified, consult with someone who is an expert in this area and knows what they're doing.
So Jenna, this is something we deal with all the time with startups. So I'm just going to put that question down, right? So I start my company, and I'm the CEO, and we've got a founding team of like the 4 of us. We can all be independent contractors, right? None of us are employees.
Well, have you read Dynamics? It's basically the bottom line is that it's very, very hard to classify someone as an independent contractor in California, and you better be darn certain that that person actually meets the requirements to be an independent contractor before you decide to classify them as such, because the penalties and the exposure of this classification is ginormous.
And it'll have a real impact on your ability to raise money, right? We're here at an angel conference. Any investor worth the salt is going to ask those questions when they start to see the potential liability that's there, because you've all been independent contractors for the last 5 years. It's not pretty. Don't do it.
Yeah,
simple answer is you're not independent contractor.
but to answer Jeremy's question, the answer there probably is no.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not. You're not.
Okay, well, Jeremy, I want to know if you recommend that startups should use do-it-yourself incorporation websites to save money.
This is a hard one, because I know it's like I'm just like selling our services. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who think it's so simple to form a company. So I'll go online and first, I won't name names. We all know who the big one is. They go ahead and they file a certificate of incorporation. Then they come and see me a year later, 2 years later, when they're going to raise their angel and go, oh yeah, we incorporated. We're good. The problem is that you don't know what you don't know. And these sites are just, they're not good at following up and making sure you do all the things you need to do to avoid significant tax problems. You heard about the tax issue on valuation, right? You go ahead and all you do is file your certificate of incorporation, and you don't actually issue your founder's stock, and you don't actually write the check and put the money in the bank account and have the record showing that you issued that. You come to me 2 years later, and you now have that term sheet for that financing. You're not going to be paying 0.001 cent for that founder's stock. You're going to be paying a lot more. And if you don't, you're going to have a big tax problem. So I know you all think you're saving money, but what's happened in the world today, like I mentioned, in the accounting firms, that they have wonderful deals for early stage companies that are real loss leaders. The large law firms and the small law firms out there have great deals to get you incorporated, get your stock issued, do all the other pieces, put in restricted stock agreements, put some vesting in on your boat, right? All the things that are going to get you set up so that when it's time to raise that money and the diligence happens, it's all going to sail through. They're going to move on. You'll be able to go ahead and get your financing done, and you're not going to have significant tax problems, major business problems. I could go on. I want to talk about war stories about folks who didn't put restrictions on vesting of shares of employees, and then when they go off to go to Tahiti, you can't get the stock back. I mean, there's nightmares out there. So don't do it. This is classic. Just like not using an accounting firm early on. It's penny wise and pound foolish. Pay me now or pay me later. You're going to pay me a lot more.
Let me tag on to that too, because as somebody who's both sold and bought companies, when you go to the diligence process with somebody, if you can drop them an archive of all of your corporate documents, all of your shareholder documents, all your employee handbooks, all your employee agreements, all your sales figures, all your financials, all your audit components, and just say, here it is. At the beginning of a diligence process, I guarantee you a bump in valuation every single time. If somebody has to spend 3-4 weeks or months digging through your stuff and asking you, 100 questions, every time they pick up the phone, every time they write an email, your valuation goes down.
And this is cheap to do today. There's all these services that will do it for you. I don't like saying to use, Dropbox and Box because they're not very secure. You can do that initially, right? And if you do it, it's like anything, right? If you do it on an ongoing basis, it's simple. If you wait till the very end, it's a nightmare and it's expensive. Great advice.
The other entrepreneurs that we work with that are buttoned up, that have done all this, they're not smarter than any of us, right? They're not. There's nothing that they come in with a greater level of sophistication than the entrepreneur. The only thing they did different was had the guts to ask the question. So when you call Jeremy, you can have a 15-20-minute conversation for free, right? You get that guidance of, you don't need all this, you just need this and this. You can call someone and get that HR guidance or get that accounting guidance. And that's what I'd ask entrepreneurs to do, is use the time that service provider will give you for free to get a map of, okay, if I'm going to do 1 to 2 things, what are those things?
And I'll tell you, there's lots of great resources. I'm going to do a quick plug. We have a website that we specifically devoted to early stage companies called MINTZ-EDGE, MINTZ-EDGE. We specifically put on there very simple, very easy to follow articles that walk you through these issues. There's just no excuse to not know some of these things we talked about, because it's out there and you can get it for free.
Just to add to that as well, any advisor, anybody that's in the business that I'm in or these other businesses as well, they know that you need to plant seeds to get your good clients, right? So a lot of this advice is out there for free. Just, adding on to that, half of the calls that I take every day, I try to tell people, you don't actually need us right now, but keep us in mind in the future. Here are the things that you should be thinking about now. From the 409A perspective, it comes up frequently with early stage companies, just because stock compensation is one of the ways people get paid. If in a very early stage company, it may not be worth paying a high dollar for a more thorough analysis. There are plenty of other resources out there for lower cost providers in that area. The one thing I would say in that is that, again, you don't know what you don't know. So be careful as you start to get a little bit bigger and a little bit more sophisticated and those problems start to grow. That's when you can go into those advisors that you created that relationship with and start asking more complicated questions.
I'm going to point out, that most of these folks don't want to brag for themselves, but they have quite a few of their clients are sitting here in this room. So as you go throughout the day, anyone who's worked with one of these service providers, if you would, just tell people your honest experiences with everyone on this panel, because I'm sure they were absolutely outstanding. Now I'd like to run over to Trevor and say, if I'm a startup, why should I consider having an investment banker on my team when a potential strategic acquirer has expressed an interest in my company?
Well, obviously, all investment bankers want you to hire an investment banker. But one of the things, I guess, is in the startup world, what we see is that something has changed. The thing that's changed is, before 15 years ago, for most companies, acquisition was not something that was even on the radar until you got big, right? Until you got clients, until you had earnings. And today, that's just very much changed. So the M&A for big strategic companies has become a normalized part of their business. The challenge is they have a global competition for innovation. And so what they're constantly scanning for is emerging leaders in niche business, in niche markets. And so that's what you represent. And it may not be that you may not have any earnings to speak of, but it's, boy, we've just launched a product, we're starting to get a couple key customers. That's what brings them up on their radar. So I guess the pieces that I want to communicate to a startup in terms of takeaways would be, one, the acquirer is not your friend. Right? Google calls you up, you get so excited. Mom, I can't believe it. Google called me. It's great. Google is looking for something. They're not your friend. Now, they're not your enemy, but they are professionals at this. And so the question becomes, so what should I be sharing with them? Should I be giving them revenue information? Sure. Gives them an idea kind of where you are life cycle wise. Tell them about your company. That's great. We certainly don't talk about earnings. We do not talk about unit economics or how your pricing or how the economics of your business works. And you do not tell them about how you do something. You give them this is what we do, big picture. We do not talk technical. Even if you have an NDA in place, It doesn't matter. You have an NDA and Qualcomm wants to come knocking on your door. You think you're going to be able to defend their legal team? It doesn't work that way. So I would tell you that you just need to be thoughtful. Calling someone like Jeremy, who's been in the pits, been on the company side himself, that free call, hey, I just got called by Google. What should I tell him? How should I manage this relationship? That's the kind of conversation you want to have.
Send them your product.
Yeah, definitely like that. The other thing you can do is you can this interest from the strategics. It's a wonderful thing if you are thoughtful and prepared for it. So you can actually catalyze that. So here, if you think about this, so you're $100,000 in revenue, you're a startup company. We're really talking about thinking about market traction, but there's some very simple things and very cost-efficient things you can do to catalyze Google's interest in you. So there's two ways. We call it strategic PR. There's a passive approach. Put out press releases. I still have a hard time understanding the whole idea of stealth. Stealth doesn't get you investors, and unless you have some massive market jumping IP, it's not a good way to go about it. So our belief is do press releases from a passive perspective, do industry conference speaking, have a blog, talk about what you're doing. That's a nice passive approach. The proactive approach then is targeted PR. So you go out, identify who you think potential strategic targets are, call it 10 companies you think might be good fits. Use LinkedIn, identify who the business unit leaders are that you want knowing about your company. Now, they may not be ready for 5 years to buy you, but having been in that room on the technology company side at EMC, we had a radar. We watched companies for years and years. And some of them we talked to very, very early. So you want to get on that radar. Using LinkedIn is a wonderful way to do that.
Let me interject because I want to ask one last question very quickly. Jenna, can you tell me, has the Me Too movement impacted startups at all? And then, sorry, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Me Too movement, as it continues to gain steam, is we're going to start to continue to see more and more sexual harassment lawsuits being filed against startups as well as all size companies. Some of them have merit, some of them don't. Regardless, if you're defending one of these lawsuits, it's going to be expensive and it's going to be stressful. So the top things you can do to avoid finding yourself in a sexual harassment lawsuit: make sure your sexual harassment policy is legally compliant, and California has very specific elements that have to be in a sexual harassment policy, so don't just make one up off the top of your head. Number two, make sure you're complying with your training requirements. As of January 1st this year, employers in California with 5 or more employees have to train both their supervisors and their non-supervisory personnel every 2 years. And lastly, obviously, you want to promote a culture of zero tolerance for sexual harassment and foster a workplace with respect for all employees.
Thank you. Okay, I'm about to wrap up this panel, but before I do, I'm going to tell you about my personal war story. It comes from several years ago in Dallas, Texas. I had a client, why did I say Texas? Y'all know where it is. Client with 10 million in a down market calls me up, says, hey, I need 8 million wired into my account, need it tomorrow. And I go, wow, okay, that's pretty exciting. What's going on? You own your own company. Is it falling apart? No, I can make payroll on Friday, but I have a bank loan in place right now and I can't mess anything up financially because it'll mess up my loan. I said, okay, so what's going on? My competitor's going under. His income was chunky. He's going out. I can buy it 40 cents on the dollar. It's an opportunity I can't pass up. Need to sell the portfolio. Sit there and I go, okay, in a down market, tax repercussions. I don't think you're going to get away with only paying 20% to the IRS, but we'll leave that up to the accountants. And I said, can you hold on? Can you give me about 2 hours to work on this? It's market close coming up. It's Wednesday afternoon. And even if I sold everything right now, it won't clear for 3 days. You aren't going to have it till next week. So we're not meeting your deadline. So I hang up the phone, and the last thing I say to him is, can you get anything less than 8 million? You can get away with less. They said, I'll work on it. I said, great, I've got my job cut out for me. Go and open up an old file folder, because it's back in the day. Pull it out. When this client first came into me, I made him sign 86 pages worth of documents. During that time, when I was having him sign all those documents, maybe for the first 10 minutes he paid attention, but somewhere along the line I started saying, okay, this is a safety net I'm putting in place for you. Hopefully you never need it. Okay, we're doing this just in case. Hopefully you never need it. And thank heavens, I look in the folder and I've created what's called securities-based lending loan. Now, that's important because it takes 3 weeks to create, approve, and implement one of these deals. And when this person came on board in my practice years before, I created several safety nets for him, knowing his business. And I was hoping he'd never need them, but I knew if he did, it was really going to mean the difference between life and death in this case of an acquisition, not his company itself. So I call up the folks in charge of this department, say, hey, I need money. How much can I get for the guy? They basically tell me 6.5 million. But here's my favorite part. I can get it to him at a Well, pretty much at 60 bips over LIBOR. For people who don't speak my language, that means a little over 0.5% over the rate that banks lend to one another. Now, I could have hit this guy at a spread of 2 to 6% over LIBOR. I could have really have hit him on that, but that's not how I earn my fees. And I wanted this client to succeed. And I knew that with market gyrations, he might really run up against the shores here, right? So I call up this guy. He's about 52 years old. And I put him on speakerphone because that's typically how I operate. And I say, hey, great news for you. I've got you 6.5. Can you make that work? By the way, it's going to be at 60 bits over LIBOR. It's a floater. Let me tell you about the risk, et cetera, et cetera. I won't bore you with the rest of it. I end the conversation. I go, oh, and by the way, you won't have any tax implications and we don't have to sell in a down market. I'm personally excited about that. I hear nothing. I think, did I lose him? We're not on cell phones. We're on landlines. What happened to this guy? Did he go to the bathroom? I mean, what happened? And then I didn't hear anything for another moment. I said, is anyone there? Can you hear me? And then I picked the phone up off the speakerphone, and that's when I literally heard a grown man crying. He was sniffling because he was so excited that not only was he getting to keep his company, he was expanding with a bank loan. The loan that I was giving him is a loan between my company and himself. It doesn't even go on your credit history. So nothing was going to be affected in terms of his valuations for the loan. So the reason I tell you that story is not simply to tell you how great I am, which clearly I think I am. But to tell you, you need to find experts in the service field who are truly experts at what they do because they've encountered these problems before. They will create safety nets for you that you don't even know you need. Leverage off of their experience and their painful prior histories, and we will teach you a few things. I see some serious faces up here because, yes, the gray hair has been earned. So I can recommend 5 great service providers up on this stage. I wish you the best of luck in finding your own. At this time, I want to turn it over to questions from the audience. If there are any, we'd be delighted to help answer them. Okay.
Oh boy.
That's yours, Jeremy.
Boy, that's easy. Yeah, well, I'm going to answer that, JD. I know JD well, and he knows this story. It's actually a story of a company that I actually jumped out and joined during the dot-com era. So it's actually impacted me directly. I had options in this company, and we were looking to get sold. Crazy story. Very sophisticated CFO who had worked with publicly traded companies, had worked with lots of venture-backed companies. He clearly knew what preferred stock was. But yet when the CEO asked him, sell our company for $50 million, go ahead and do me a waterfall so we can see what we're all going to get. What he did is he took $50 million and divided it by all the outstanding shares of stock and said, oh, our stock's going to be worth, $5. And I'm sitting in this meeting and I'm like, didn't we raise $50 million of venture capital? Yeah. Don't they have preferred stock? Yeah. Doesn't it say that they get their money first? Yeah. Like, then how are we getting $3 if it's a $50 million deal and they put $50 million in and they have a 1x liquidation preference? Don't they get all the money? Oh, yeah. Okay? When you do a liquidation preference, it means the investor gets the money first. Now, there's some look into the complexities, how it can be structured, it might convert, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is, do your waterfall when you have an M&A deal and make sure you remember the terms that you agreed upon. Because it's the difference between you actually, hey, this is a good deal, I'm getting money, or oh my gosh, I just sold my business like that. So, quick ad. Investment bankers, I'm doing advertising for all my fellow panelists here. Work with them early, and even if you get a term sheet that comes over the transom, you think it's a great deal. So I've had this phone call. Oh, I don't need a banker. I already have the deal. It's already set. I'm like, no. You need that advice. And they play a really important role in so many ways, even beyond what Trevor just talked about. Negotiating your deal and protecting you, being the bad guy, catching these kinds of mistakes. That mistake would never happen if Trevor was sitting in the room, right? So, do this early. Don't wait.
Okay, I love his passion for his field. All right, do we have any other burning questions out there in the room? I saw your hand go first. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're not what? Non-lendable.
Quick answer. This would be Jeremy
That's
too.
that's a hard one, right? I mean, the reality
Then
is bankruptcies. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I'm going to suggest we take that one offline. There were questions over here. Yes, sir. I think Misty will be able to give you that information at another time. Okay, one last question. Oh, sorry, Jerry in a moment. Mike first, go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry. Jeremy's popular.
Earlier, what you did.
Earlier.
Earlier, so it's all about compensation, right? So if you know you're going to be issuing stock options to try to entice people to come over to your company, or whatever the reason is, if you already have that in place, then you don't have to do it. There's no struggle, there's no wait as you're trying to move forward.
So Jerry, there are some safe harbors you can rely on. You don't have to get a third-party valuation. My advice is you can afford it, and again, these third-party valuations are very inexpensive at the early stage. Get the third-party valuation, do it immediately, get yourself that rock-solid protection, that safe harbor, and then do it every year.
I'm going to wrap up our panel at this time, and I want to thank my panel members for their time, their expertise, and for coming out and doing this for me. It took more time than y'all know. I'd also like to thank you, the audience members, for your time and your attention. We appreciate it. And lastly, but not least, I want to thank Misty for allowing me to have the privilege of talking on her stage. Thank you.
All right, before we go to lunch, I need to introduce you to your fund manager here today. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sylvia Ma, who really recently, I'm super excited about this, just accepted the job as the president and COO at Connect, which is our local accelerator. Yes. So a little bit about Sylvia. In addition to that, she's the founder of Hera Hub, which is a co-working and accelerator for female-led companies. She's the founder of the Hera Fund, which is an angel fund of female angels that invest in female-led companies. She is the founder of Ad Astra, which is another accelerator for tech-focused tech and life science companies with female-led founders as well. She is a direct angel investor, and she has a PhD from some other university in town. And she's just an awesome person. So, Sylvia, thank you.
I just wanted to introduce everybody. This is a culmination of so many months. So welcome first to today, and welcome to the first inaugural San Diego Angel Conference. It was so great to have such a wonderful panel to start off. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. And I also want to echo the talk that Dean Gomez did about family. We will introduce in like 2 minutes all of the angels in this room that contributed to this day being possible, but it's a family of angels. So I'm really excited about that. I also wanted to echo the energy that these lovely panelists said. It's palpable in San Diego. Am I correct? Yes, the energy of investing, the energy of startups is here, and in our group of investors here. I'm seeing them in the room. I'm like, yes, they're amazing. But I'm encouraged by these angels that came along this journey with us. Why? For 3 reasons. One is there's a collective wisdom amongst us, right, that we embraced and we highlighted. So at the beginning, we're like, okay, there's so many different people in this room. How are we going to do it all? And we did it, and we embraced it, and we highlighted each other. They were all in. All of these investors, you'll see that they're amazing. They're all in with their mentality of embracing this angel investment world. They're serious about knowledge acquisition. So part of the San Diego Angel Conference, because of wonderful people like John Seacrest back there, of this educational aspect of the San Diego Angel Conference. So what is this? We have been actually together every Wednesday, right? For the last three months. And we had about 18 to 20 angel investors who started off with us. And they went through the program with us to learn in a Socratic method how to angel invest, how to learn from each other. Right now, today, we have about 25, 30. See, I'm doing ranges, so I'm not, that have committed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So really excited. In that group, people always ask me, we have about 80% aspiring angel investors that today, well, they already wrote their checks, but today they will be activating their capital. Pretty amazing. 20% of our group of angels are existing angel investors, so they help these aspiring angel investors learn and grow. We have 7 co-fund managers that were amazing. They didn't know they were going to do it at the beginning, but they stepped up and they led the due diligence. So with that, you'll see that it's a village of angels here today that are going to write this $200,000 check. I wanted to just echo that in this room. So with that, I wanted to also say we have to have people stand up. So we have leads that are Misty, amazing, thank you, lead, John Segrist and her team. So her team, we're gonna have a lot of people stand up. So her team also stand up. Yes, good, thank you. Investors that are part of that fund, please stand up. Yes, they're so amazing. Thank you so much. Stay standing. Advisors in the Brink that helped this whole process out. Stay standing, stay standing, stay standing, stay standing. Advisors of the Brink who helped, thank you. And anyone else who helped, please stand up. Do you see here, this is the village that is creating the next generation of angel investors here in San Diego. These are new angels. I'm so excited to be walking alongside them. And this is why today is made possible. So thank you. A round of applause. But other reasons why we're here is because we have so much support from the SBDC, so much support from Mints. So Marquise, can you come up and give us some wisdom? Woohoo. I know. I wanted to set the stage. Thank you, Marquise.
Absolutely. So good afternoon. My name is Marquise Jackson. I'm the regional director for the Small Business Development Center. Just by a quick show of hands, how many people are familiar with the SBDC? So I still get to give the commercial. So the Small Business Development Center program is a program that's funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration, the state of California, locally here by a lot of banks and institutions like University of San Diego. And really we have one mission, right? Is to drive the growth of existing businesses and the creation of new businesses here in San Diego and Imperial counties. And we also do this all throughout the nation. And we offer free mentoring and coaching to people who want to grow their existing business or take their new innovative idea and make it a reality. And we have a whole bunch of people just like me who wake up every day and want to drive these companies forward and really build San Diego. And one of the things that's important about this conference, which is transformational for San Diego. When I came here 7 years ago, I had a dream of creating a technology center. Little did I know when I sit down with Dean Gomez a couple years back that he would propose that we do this and we'd be able to recruit Misty here from Central California to take over the Brink. This conference is so transformational for San Diego because now investors will be more visible, right? Our companies have to go away to other areas to get investment. And we know San Diego has a lot of capital. Now that capital is going to be more visible, and this will be the first of many angel conferences that Misty and her team does. So local companies will get local investment, and we're going to keep growing that local investment, and hopefully we'll become kind of Silicon Valley South. So thank you all for being here. This is transformational for us, for SBDC, and for the country of SBDCs. And I look forward to seeing the companies presented and one of them walk away with a check. So thank y'all.
This guy's awesome. All right, it's almost lunchtime. So we're going to do this pretty quick. We want to cycle back here at about 12:35-ish again. We'll keep the thing going. There's buffet at the back. The finalist companies are up at the back. There's restrooms on both sides. And yeah, lunch is on. Enjoy. Panelists. Hello, panelists. Ladies.
I am. I have to turn it on.
All right. Hello, hello, hello.
You're on.
Hello. All right, everybody.
Alice.
We are going to keep this show running. We're a few minutes behind. We'll try and catch up, but
We'll just stand. Yep.
we're going to keep it tight. So, I hope you left me some food. Don't eat it all. I haven't had any yet.
Do you want it? I'll have it.
All right, folks. I would like to introduce the ladies behind Ad Astra, San Diego's newest awesome accelerator. And leading the discussion again is Dr. Sylvia Ma. So thank you. Please grab a seat, quick.
Thank you. So welcome. I have changed my attire to notice that this is Ad Astra Ventures. We are a early stage angel group, I guess, fund, and it is made up of 3 individuals. These are my partners. We founded Ad Astra about a year ago. Again, Dr. Sylvia Ma, I'm reverberating, sorry, Vidya Dinamani and Allison. These 3, we have this amazing connection in different ways, but we put together an amazing dynamic trio. Vidya comes mostly from corporate America, and she is a product girl. She's amazing, and she is also an angel investor. Allison Longbatine has been a VC forever, 15 years. No, 15 years. And when we went to actually all raise, she was one of maybe 3 ladies in Silicon Valley and all of the United States that could raise their hand and stand up for 15 years as a venture capitalist. So she is amazing, amazing. So we'll be talking today a little bit about our program and why we're doing what we're doing and what it actually translates to you in the audience.
Great, so that's me. We have a little shorter time than we expected, so we're going to talk really fast. We thought it would be interesting to tell you why we formed Ad Astra. So Sylvia said we've been together investing, being on panels, going to pitch night for many, many years. And we kept complaining about the fact that there weren't enough women in the pipeline. And you all as investors know you need a really strong, healthy pipeline, right, to get great companies into your portfolio. And we just weren't seeing them. So a year and a half ago, we said, we're going to do something about it. And we formed Ad Astra. And we started this with the premise that all the stats look really dire, and we wanted to address female entrepreneurs and to help them get to funding. What we discovered, though, and this is kind of to our horror, as we did all this research, is that there is a set of implicit biases that exist. So implicit, in fact, that we, as women, as investors, were guilty of a number of behaviors. We were showing up differently for the women investors, the women entrepreneurs in the room, than the men. And so we thought, oh, we're doing this. So we are on a mission to help educate and train and change how entrepreneurs show up. And the way that we're doing this is through the framework that you see behind us. You see awareness. So we have 9 implicit biases that Allison's going to touch upon because we want you to know them, because we want you to have better investments and for you to show up differently as an investor for your female entrepreneur. But what we do is we train them on 9 implicit biases. Then we talk about the impact, because everyone has this impact a little bit differently. So what we want them to do is to help our entrepreneur think about, what are these biases? How do I show up? How do I show up differently? And then action. A lot of the time, and we would love to invite you to sign up, we look for mentors to come help do various scenario role-playing, and we have our entrepreneurs try on different ways that they take control of the situation. So that's Ad Astra in a nutshell. We're around come talk to us. We'd love for you to maximize your investment by knowing how you show up differently and make that female entrepreneur more effective.
Great, thank you. So video pretty much covered everything, but I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of depth into our curriculum. And really one of the things I want you to take away is an understanding that these are implicit biases that we all have. So as Vidya mentioned, you know, we as investors come to the table with these biases. And we were pretty horrified to find out that we actually have these biases, and this is all research fact. But we've basically categorized these biases into 3 buckets. And it's all in order to help the entrepreneur who's pitching us, the investor. And it's really about empowering the entrepreneur to understand what these biases are, because it's very hard for the people who have the biases, for us as investors, to change our perspective. We have to be aware of them, we have to know about them, but we really want to allow the entrepreneur to be able to feel like she can do something about it. And so the 3 categories of bias are, 1, how people see you. And this is, you know, this is when you look at a man and a woman in a room, our minds automatically go to the man's probably the investor, the CEO, the founder. And the reason why is because our brains make these split decisions before we can even think about them. And these are things that are hindering women's abilities to succeed. Second bucket is interact, how people talk to you, how people interact with you. You may not know, but women actually get asked different questions than men do when they're in investor meetings. The reason for that is because women have an expectation, there's an implicit bias that women should not fail and men should actually succeed. And this bias manifests itself in actually the conversation is completely changed when investors are talking to women. They're asking a lot about risk, a lot about downside. I found myself doing the same exact thing with women once I was aware of it. And the third bias is internalized. And this is really the biases that we as women have on ourselves. So the 3 of us up here are in a really unique position in that we're both investors. We have the biases, but we're also women. So we also are impacted by the biases. And we saw this category to be very important because we realized that there's things that we're doing that hold ourselves back. And if we're not aware of that, then we can't change it. So that's in a nutshell the 3 biases. I think it impacts both the people who are entrepreneurs that are pitching, but it also really it makes us as investors more aware of our actions when we're talking to entrepreneurs.
So just in closing, we just want to give you one quick story and one takeaway that you may do differently. So one of our portfolio companies, it's a female CEO and she has a co-founder who's male. And they went into a room and she founded the company. It's her personal story. It's actually a very specific women's product. But she found that consistently the investor group would look to the man to start, right? They would look to him as CEO. So what we would suggest you do is the next time you meet with a new company, with someone that you're considering investing in, assume, regardless of what you get introduced, assume the woman is the CEO. Look at her first, shake her hand first, and just watch how the dynamic in your meeting will change and maximize your investment potential and her. So that's it. I think that we, again, super fast. Come talk to us. We've got so much more. But thank you and enjoy this opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Super awesome resource. So ironically, the agenda calls for the removal of the table right now, which is 5 minutes when they didn't even use the table. But so I don't know, is somebody breaking this thing? And there's supposed to be a break. So if anybody wants to take a break, but it's like 3 minutes. So rather than, if I could sing, I would, but you'd be very afraid. Maybe questions? Anybody got any questions about anything at all? Anything, venture, state of the market? That's all I know. All right, nothing. This is going fast. See, we're making up time already. We have a question. Okay, so that was quick. So only one question. which was what percentage of companies that raise money come through introductions versus over the transom? And the answer really is don't ever send your deal over the transom, ever. Always find a way in through a trusted source. And there's different levels of trusted sources, right? So even when I'm working with different companies, I might know a VC at August Capital, but if I know an entrepreneur who's funded by August Capital and he or she has a great relationship with the VC, I forego it and give it to that person to make that intro. And then as long as you've got somebody with a really strong relationship, it gets to the top of the stack and it gets read. The average VC sees 2,000 deals a year and will invest in less than 10. It's like half of 1%. So getting in through a trusted channel is super important and always recommended. All right. So with that, now it's my pleasure to introduce our humble leader here today, Misty Rusk. She has helped guide numerous startups from idea to IPO. She's helped companies raise tens of 20s and 40s of millions of dollars. But what I want to say about Misty is I really appreciate the fact that she took a big leap to pull this off. She jumped in with both feet at a time when there was really nothing going on and just stepped in and made it happen. From vision to execution, she made it happen. So thank you very much, Misty.
Thanks, Mike. This is another place where we're going to help get back on schedule. So I'm going to abbreviate my comments. And Misty Rusk, I'm with the Brink SBDC. Small Business Development Centers are a partnership between a local host and with the Small Business Administration, where we match up funds to be able to provide services to small businesses. So we have taken this Angel Conference as a new way to look at how we support small businesses across the country. This idea actually came out of a meeting at a bar in Florida about 4 or 5 years ago, where Marquise Jackson and I we're at a national conference and we were chatting about this idea. And wouldn't it be great if we could bring an Angel Conference to the SBDC, and wouldn't it be great if we could do that in San Diego? And as you heard earlier, he's worked pretty diligently to make that happen. We did have 91 companies apply for the program this year. The investor group sat down and went through all 91 of those companies. So there's a couple of investors. Jad Duncan read every single proposal, like all 91 proposals, and gave feedback on all 91 proposals. And everybody else sort of split them up and looked at those. Then we brought in the top 30 companies to do 3-minute pitches, narrowed it to the top 12. The top 12 came back and did their 10-minute pitches, narrowed it to the top 7, and they've spent the last 3 or 4 weeks doing the due diligence on the 7 companies. And we really actually don't know who will win until after the 7 pitches today. The investors are going to go in another room and they're going to make their final decision. As part of that process, we went back and we asked the 91 companies, who are you working with in San Diego? And here's what we found out. Companies that are getting served in San Diego, that are doing innovative things and trying to grow, they don't make a distinction between public and private services. They don't care if you're government or a nonprofit or a private entity altogether. So we started out with about 70 incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces that we knew were serving this area. When we asked the 91 companies who they're working with, they came back and told us there are really 130 or 140 resources that they work with over throughout the San Diego ecosystem. And of the 7 companies that you're seeing today, one of those companies is working with 17 different organizations here in San Diego to help them succeed. The very least they're working with is around 4. And so what we know is that these businesses aren't doing it on their own. And nobody's being successful because of one organization in San Diego. It's the San Diego ecosystem that's really, really working hard to bring the resources around the startup community. And so if you look at your program page 13, page 9 or 13 of your program, one of those is the scorecard for today, just a sample scorecard for you to use and to be able to evaluate the deals that you see. And to be able to follow up with companies that we're going to hear from in a little while. And then the other one, whichever is not 9 or 13, the other one is Startup San Diego's first draft at how they're mapping the ecosystem. So where companies need support, where they get it in San Diego in the innovation space. With that, that's all I wanted to share. I'm going to turn it back over to Mike, and we're going to start with what you really, really came to see today.
All right, to the fun stuff, to the companies. Our first presenter is from the company Lend It, Andrew. Adrian, there you are, right on.
Can everybody? Oh, there we go. Work. Hello. All right. Disruption. This is a word that we commonly hear in the startup space all the time, right? We look at disruption and how we get from point A to point B with rideshare companies. They changed that. We look at disruption in online businesses, Shopify, Amazon. We look at disruption in how we conduct transactions for retail, Square, Clover. But there's an industry that has yet to have any disruption. That's the item and equipment rental industry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Adrian, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lend It. Our company provides an all-in-one software solution for the item rental industry. We discovered this problem because when we started the company, we created a peer-to-peer rental marketplace. However, we quickly saw this is not where we wanted to take the company because we started visiting actual rental businesses in our area, and they're either using Excel, outdated software, or believe it or not, some of them are using software that was designed for restaurants so they can have online booking. So there's not an all-in-one software solution, meaning Aquatic Mission Bay Center, they're currently using 3 different softwares to run their rental business. So what we do is we streamline all of that into a simple solution. So our solution is an easy-to-use CRM point-of-sale system. It has cost efficient because it handles employee clock in, clock out, does item inventory management, reservation management. Another important aspect is that businesses have a hard time, rental businesses, with the ability to be online. So if you have Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, all these website generators, they were made for retailers, not for rental businesses. So then they have to find software that's compatible to that platform and then plug it in. So what we've done is we've created an easy way to put your rentals online. And as if you've seen a rental website, most of them still look like they're in the 90s. So we actually designed 5 templates so they can spin up a nicer looking website as well. I've been very blessed to have an amazing team. My vice president, Alexander Weber, is fluent in 12 coding languages. He's turned down jobs from high prestigious companies, and he has a degree in computer science and computer engineering. And then Nika Zabala, she's actually here with us today. She has a degree in computer science as well. And then myself, Andrew Adrian. So I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a machine gunner and drove tanks in the ocean. Yes, that exists. Then after I got out, I got into SDSU and I worked in cybersecurity for one of the world's largest cybersecurity companies, fell in love with tech, did business operations for the US, Canada, and the UK. Then I had this idea for Lend It. I couldn't ignore it. And I do what all great entrepreneurs do. Quit my job, sold my stock, and my wife loved it. I thought it was a great idea. So with our product, what makes us unique is we're very easy to use and simple. So we have working software. Right now, we have 5 companies beta testing our software, fully enrolled, and then we have 31 companies who've already signed up to purchase. And I'm happy to give you a demo today. So our 5 companies, we have testing our software, and then what's gonna make it even better, so we had an idea, well, how do we make this more impactful to the consumer? Just because we make it easier for business owners, we wanna encourage their customers and bring them more customers to their business. So we met with Lyft recently in San Francisco at their headquarters and pitched an idea for delivery. They loved it. They want to do a partner pilot program. And we also are partnering with dLive and GoShare. So now you can order your item on demand and delivery. And we've had minor conversations with companies like Lowe's and Home Depot to assist their rental program. So how does the cycle work? Depending on the sales channel, we'll get the business owner to go to our website to purchase the software. After that, they can download the desktop or mobile version. Now, 90% of the companies we've visited stated they would rather have an iPad. It's easier to walk around the shop. They can build your order. However, we will have a desktop version available. Then they can put that in their shop, and they can use a plugin to their website, or they can host an entirely new website with us, and then the customer can either do delivery if they like, and then you can take your dog kayaking like most people do. So our business model is simple. We have 75, 150, and 250. So it's a SaaS model. This has been well received by the businesses we have signed up. So this is where I really wanted to talk about today. So in our industry, we've done a ton of research on this. And there are rental softwares that exist, but like I said, it's highly outdated. The design is not the best. As you can tell, it looks like you're dealing with the 90s. And the problem is, most businesses, the software they find, it can't do everything they need. So for example, one of the biggest businesses right now is Fair Harbor. They were recently acquired for over $300 million, but they're only an online reservation system. That's it. So literally, if you're a shop owner and someone walks in your shop, you have to use a different system for walk-ins, or you have to go to your own website and do what the customer does to get it in your system. It doesn't exist. So I just wanted to show you how they're kind of complex. And I apologize because of the glare on the screen, but basically what this was to represent is all the different components that a lot of businesses have to pay for. So Fair Harbor, for example, you can have your reservations conducted, but if you want to have the ability for them to sign a waiver electronically, that's another business you have to pay for. We do all of it. So our rental industry, after extensive research, we found there's about 81,000 rental businesses across the United States. We also found that there's 34.5 million tourists per year to San Diego alone, and they spend over $9.9 billion to our economy. So we know we're saying the rental industry, but we're focusing right now on recreation. So we're going after the kayak stores, the surf shops, all of that, and then we're moving into party equipment and then tools. Financing, we're seeking $200,000 on a convertible note with a 20% discount. We're going to use these funds for our marketing, sales, operations, and our software so we can be fully focused on Lendit. Our goal is to hit 300 businesses in our first year, and that would enable us to move this fast so then we can do a larger raise in the future after we have higher revenue. So as we all know, projections are projections in the startup world. We're going to do our best, but we know with your investment, you can help us hit these numbers. And as I said, Fair Harbor is one of the examples we used. They hit 7,000 businesses in 5 years and were acquired for over $300 million. 77% of companies acquired right now are SaaS companies. And the top is CRMs and data analytics, and that's exactly what we provide for these rental shops. So why does renting matter? I always joke, and you're going to see some cool companies today. You really are. Biotech, drug-related, and I just joke like, we're the rental software. But why does this matter? Well, we can lower our consumption. There's a reason we have a pile of trash in the ocean twice the size of Texas. 1 out of 11 US families pay more than $100 a month for storage, stuff you're not using. Why not use $100 a month for rentals? Use it for stuff you need but you don't want to keep. Especially in San Diego, my wife and I live in a studio. I can't have a kayak if I want to, but now I can have that kayak delivered to me on Mission Bay. So the future is we change that, but more than anything, what you're going to make your decision on today isn't just the opportunity, isn't just the business, it's the people behind it. And my team and I have been through a lot to be here, and I know with confidence, no matter what, we will be successful. So I hope you join us on that journey. Thank you for your time. Do I come down? You can dance all day. Yep.
My favorite line was he lives in a studio with his wife. That is the entrepreneur story right there. All right, up to share some due diligence on this deal, we've got David Churchill.
Do I have a thing for the slides? Oh, you're going to do them for me. So my name is David Churchville. I'm one of the investors. And we, my team and I, as a group of 4 of us, led the due diligence on Lendit, who you just heard from. And so I'm just going to give you some highlights of what we found. So first off, what do we love about Lendit? So we love recurring revenue business models. Software as a service businesses. You don't have to keep making new sales every month. You have this baseline of revenue that you can count on. So they tend to be more predictable. We also liked the product is sticky and comprehensive. So what does that mean? So once they sell into a business, they're managing their point of sale, they're managing their inventory, they're managing everything. So there's a tremendous amount stickiness to that, where they're not just going to switch to a competitor or cancel, because they're really running their business off of it. So that's a strong point. Also, as you could probably tell from the presentation, it's a really passionate, driven team, and have shown the ability to pivot, as he described before. What we heard about, they started out as a peer-to-peer lending rental business, and were able to see that that wasn't working, so they pivoted to what's now looking like a really solid opportunity. Okay, potential risks. So obviously, it's an early stage company, they're pre-revenue. So one potential risk is, do they really have product market fit? Are the customers really going to come? So the way they've mitigated that, and we checked into all of this in pretty good detail. So they've secured letters of intent from potential customers. They really got out there and talked to their market. So entrepreneurs here, think about that. Even if you don't have revenue yet, you have a chance to talk to customers and find out if they actually want what you have. So they've done that. I think, what was the count? 31 letters of intent, and we actually saw copies of those. We didn't just take his word for it. So that was good. The other potential risk is the sales projections. So again, they're ramping up pretty quickly over 5 years. So we had to kind of think about that and say, is this realistic? Is this really going to happen? And of course, that's just something we can't know. You don't have perfect information in investing or in startups. But we believe in the team. We think it's, they're going to adapt, as they've already shown that they have the ability to do so. With software, it's tricky. You don't always have patents and things that you can really wrap around the business that prevent a competitor from coming in. So that's just a general risk in software. But their mitigation, again, I really talked earlier about the stickiness of this product. So once they're in there, that really, it kind of does establish a moat that competitors can't get across. And so when thinking about like what really stands out about Lendit, for me it starts with the team. So it's a committed, passionate team. I really like the problem they're solving, and in an underserved industry. And I say low technical risk here, which again, there's a lot of great companies here. Some of them have higher technical risk. They're doing really incredible things, making technical breakthroughs that might or might not work out. These guys, it's actually a pretty low technical risk. They're building software, they're about done, we've looked at it, it looks like it works. So the chances of them actually failing because of technology are low. That's all I've got. Okay, so I just said that.
Yeah. Due diligence is fun, isn't it? All right, next up, CEO of Vivid Genomics, Julie Collins. It's all yours.
This is a tweet from a woman whose grandmother has Alzheimer's disease. Her grandma told her, "I don't remember your name, but I remember that I love you." This is standard in the trajectory of Alzheimer's disease today without a drug. Our goal at Vivid Genomics is to change this norm and accelerate neurodegenerative disease drug development. My name is Julie Collins. I'm the CEO and founder of Vivid Genomics. I have always been fascinated with genomics. I have a PhD in population genetics and 10 years of business experience, first as a stock analyst covering life science tools and molecular diagnostics companies, and then in senior market strategy roles at Illumina, where I led business development for complex disease and dementia. And over the course of my career, I've become an expert at identifying large areas of unmet need in healthcare where genomics can make a really big difference and identifying the right tool to address that opportunity. At Vivid Genomics, we are developing tests to help pharma companies get their drugs approved. We're covering all of neurodegenerative disease, but starting with Alzheimer's, because there are 0 drugs that can cure or delay the onset. There have been 150 failed attempts over the last 20 years, and it's extremely expensive to develop these drugs. And yet pharma companies continue to invest and innovate because the unmet need is so great. There are 50 million people worldwide living with Alzheimer's disease, and that number is expected to triple over the next 30 years. In San Diego County, Alzheimer's disease is the 3rd leading cause of death. So the obvious question is, why have all of these drugs failed, and what can we do about it? A large part of the problem is that patient variation in clinical trials is really hard to characterize. Patients decline at different rates, they have multiple forms of dementia, and they may have different subtypes of Alzheimer's disease. And all of these factors can negatively influence the outcome of a clinical trial. But we know that this variation exists, and we are developing tests to identify this variation. The information that we're providing to pharma companies often either does not exist in any other way, or if it does, it's extremely expensive and invasive to get. And having this information allows pharma companies to design better clinical trials. We're helping pharma companies decrease trial costs, decrease enrollment time, and most important to both pharma companies and to patients, improve the probability that we will have an approved drug. These millions of patients are our parents, our spouses, and our grandparents. And our long-term vision is to identify all subtypes of Alzheimer's and dementia so that pharma companies can develop drugs that will work optimally for every patient and for patients to have access to drugs that work for them. This precision medicine approach is now standard in the field of oncology for cancer drug development, and we believe that this is the future for neurodegenerative disease medicine. I want to give you some background on how our tests are developed and how they work. I'm going to start with this family. This is a large family. It's my mom's family. So my mom is the one in the back in yellow and blue. She has 2 sisters, 5 brothers. Her brothers work together and no one could tell them apart. They're all 6'3". They have this like great Lego hair and awesome 80s mustaches. And you only look this good if you're born with it. So clearly these are traits that are genetically driven that we can see from the outside. But there are also traits that are genetically driven that we can't see, that are on the inside. And so we're developing tests to identify brain characteristics that affect clinical trials. In diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's, there's not just one gene that drives the disease. Instead, there are a lot of genes that in combination have a really large effect. So to develop our tests, we're using large available data sets and thousands of brain samples that we have acquired to develop tests and identify the genetics that are most informative. We then apply machine learning to identify the weighting and combination of those genetics that are most predictive. In practice, the way that our tests run is to take DNA from blood, we characterize the genetics, and then we make sense of it through our proprietary tests. In this way, we're able to get multiple pieces of information in a non-invasive way and give those pieces of information to pharma companies to make better trial decisions. This is unique in our space. We've developed 4 tests to start that address Alzheimer's disease clinical trials. These are tests for amyloid, progression rate, CAA, and Lewy bodies. We're nearing the development of our first test for amyloid that we'll commercialize later this year. We've done this in partnership, in collaboration with the NIH and 3 other partners for access to gold standard samples and data. To protect our IP, we filed a trademark application and 2 provisional patents that cover the genetic combination in each of our individual tests and the use of the combination of tests together. Our revenue model is to sell our tests directly to pharma in contracts that are based on the number of patients enrolled in the clinical trial and the number of tests that they would like to run per patient. Our costs to do this are $300 or less in a CLIA environment to get the genetics. At that point, we can sell multiple tests at $2,500 per test. We're initially targeting pharma companies that have drug trials approaching phase 1 or 2 for new clinical trials, and phase 2 and 3 of the failed 150 trials that have already taken place. Because our initial tests are tools for pharma and are not clinical tests used in a clinical setting, we do not need FDA clearance. This means that we can get to market very quickly. We will sign our first customer in 2019, recognize revenue in 2020, and after a $2.5 million Series Seed and $10 million Series A, we'll be cash flow positive in 2022. The market for our drug trial tests is $1 billion. But where one of our tests is used in a phase 3 clinical trial that helps to get that drug approved, we have an opportunity to be a companion diagnostic, which means that that test will be run on every single Alzheimer's patient before they are prescribed a drug. And that market is worth $50 billion. So by developing these relationships with pharma companies early on, we have a really huge opportunity with very low risk. This model of starting with pharma tools and moving into companion diagnostics works. This is what the company Foundation Medicine did for cancer, and this is what we're doing for neurodegenerative disease. Foundation Medicine was acquired last year, 2018. The majority of their revenue was pharma. They only had 30 pharma partnerships, and they were acquired for a valuation of $5 billion. We want to be Foundation Medicine for dementia. We have really strong customer demand. Customers or pharma companies that have doubled down on Alzheimer's disease understand that they need to do everything that they can to lower the risk and make it more likely that their drugs will be approved. So they're very interested in innovative, novel methods. These are companies that we've actually talked to multiple times about using our tests in their clinical trials. We've made a lot of progress in the first 12 months as a company, and we've done this for less than $500,000. Normally, this would take about $2 million. Our milestones for 2019 are to sign and run a pilot study with a pharma company and to sign our first customer. We're now raising a $2.5 million equity seed round to accelerate development of our 3 tests, to finalize development and launch our first test and build out a commercial platform. We're also submitting a $4 million non-dilutive grant application early next month that, if it's successful, will allow us to accelerate our research efforts and will obviously add a lot of value to our company. Why am I confident that we can achieve this aggressive vision? We have the right team in place to do this. Our team has expertise at the intersection of disease biology, genomic analysis, and importantly, commercialization. And you'll see a lot of PhD titles on this slide, and that's because having the technical expertise to pursue this space is really, really critical. But importantly, we also all have experience in startups in both biotech and related fields, and we know what it takes to launch a successful product. We also have scientific advisors who are extremely well-published scientists, researchers at prestigious universities. They're helping us get access to important data sets, making introductions to pharma, and they're making our grant applications and our products better. We also have strategic advisors who have expertise in startups and exits in the genomic space, and they're helping us to identify and fill gaps and build our company more efficiently. So in summary, Vivid Genomics is a precision medicine company that's goal is to make clinical trials better. We're starting with 4 tests for Alzheimer's disease, and we'll commercialize our first test this year. We have really strong customer demand, and so we're raising $2.5 million to help get our tests into the hands of our customers. And we have the right team to do this. So this is a business that I am confident is going to make eye-watering amounts of money. But importantly, dementia is absolutely heartbreaking. And if you have not been affected by somebody with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, then you are very lucky. And I'm sorry to tell you that your time is coming. Vivid Genomics will change this. I want my legacy to be that I was involved in changing people's expectation of aging. If you'd like to have the same kind of impact, I invite you to join me. Thank you.
Cool stuff, right? Up to do the due diligence report is Sumner Webster. Stacy Pena, thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy, and I had the opportunity to work on the due diligence team with 4 other people, which was great. And we love eye-watering money. That sums it up right there. But in any case, what we do love about Vivid is the market size is huge, not only with the Alzheimer's trials, but also the companion diagnostic at $50 billion. So there's definitely an unmet need. The market is massive. We love Julie. She is competent. She really is a fierce female founder. It's been a joy getting to know her and her colleagues. The company's been previous JJ Labs resident. She is an Ad Astra alumni, and she continues to have the ability to receive non-diluted funds, which is great. And another thing that we love is that there is no FDA clearance for the clinical trial portion. And finally, since there's been 0 drugs that have been shown to slow or cure Alzheimer's, kicking the can forward is the bar for value is pretty low. And so anything that her tests will show will get us better than where we are today. So those are the main points of the highlights that we do really like about Vivid. There are, some of the risks that may be involved is that as investors, the money that to go to market is large, and being, with our investment, we might have a smaller place in her life cycle, and closing the round to get her to her next milestone. But again, having a small investment in a huge company, it's not a big problem. Another risk potentially is that the enrichment tools that she's developing do not prove to yield value and or a cure for Alzheimer's. And again, in order for her, she's not diagnosing, it's just a test to enrich the clinical trials. It is not a diagnostic. And pharma companies continue to be interested in her studies because they do think that it's going to have a better chance of success. Another risk is a cure, or our pharma companies stop spending money, and obviously that is very unlikely, and because of the unmet need and how serious this is. I think one of the things that we really liked is that it could very well, her tests could very well lead to the cure and disrupt clinical trials globally.
All right, next up, please welcome Debbie Chen, who is the CEO of Hydrostasis.
Please don't faint. Please don't faint. Please don't faint. That was me 4 years ago, standing in front of my boss's office, 6 months pregnant. I knew exactly what I needed. I needed my water bottle right next door. So I excused myself, got a drink of water, and within minutes, felt better. That was the first time that proper hydration was made clear to me. How important it was for me, my health, and the health of my baby. Fast forward a couple years, I started training Muay Thai. And throughout my training, I realized that I needed a lot more water than some of my teammates. So when it came to competition time, I was ready. I thought I was prepared. Well, during competition, I felt foggy. I was fatigued. I underperformed, and I lost the fight. This was the second time that proper hydration directly impacted me, and now my athletic performance. My name is Dr. Debbie Chen, and I am a scientist, a mom, an amateur Muay Thai fighter, and I am passionate about bringing continuous monitoring for hydration for our athletes and patients alike. Studies have shown that dehydration impacts pretty much every single system in the body. For example, just 2% of dehydration can significantly impact your cognitive function, and 3% can decrease your muscle function by up to 35%. But what's most impactful is by conquering this problem, we can actually save US healthcare system $235 billion. This is the current state of hydration monitoring in sports, a urine color chart. This was actually taken a few weeks ago inside the Olympic Training Center. If you look closely, it says some foods, medicines, supplements can change the color of your urine. This is completely outdated, and we can do so much better. Introducing Hydrostasis PDZ alert system. We have a wearable sensor that can go on your body anywhere that's comfortable for you. The reason why is because we actually calculate an optimal hydration range for each individual athlete. And by syncing it to our app, we can actually provide analytics to notify you before you exit your optimal hydration range. Our coaches can be standing on the sidelines overlooking the entire team's hydration status and provide real-time decision-making as well as post-training, optimizing their training regimen for performance edge as well as athlete safety. Our methods are scientifically proven based in diffuse near-infrared spectroscopy. We're measuring skin tone, blood flow, fat content, as well as hydration, and combining it into a personalized hydration index. By using different wavelengths of light, we're actually able to penetrate deeper into the tissue and extract hydration information from the muscle and not just the surface of the skin. We have several proof points. We currently have an alpha prototype built. It's on our table. You can come see it later. We are showing repeatable data showing dehydration. We have repeatable data showing rehydration. And our sensors are 10 times more accurate than thirst. We're also thrilled to be launching in Q3 of 2019, coming up real soon. And we have 4 pilots in the works. Our customer pipeline is really exciting as well. We have USA Water Polo. We have proposals with them. We have an internal grant with the University of the Pacific. San Diego State is looking to come on board in June. And the Emory University Human Performance Lab is in collaborations with us to really explore how complex hydration monitoring is. Our business model looks like this. We have 2 tiers. One is the GECA model that's focused on the individual athlete, and that costs $200 per sensor and $10 per month per athlete. Our Larry T model costs $300 per sensor and $80 per month per athlete, and this is really where our predictive analytics will shine. There are other technologies out there, but none of them have market traction. We are the only sensor system that is personalized, providing a reusable sensor, predictive analytics, team platform, and we are the only company that has the lowest barrier to healthcare. We do have intellectual property. We have a provisional patent, design patents surrounding our sensor design, trademarks filed, and our US utility patent will be filed next month. Initially, we are targeting collegiate sports with a market opportunity of $500 million. And that's really because these sports teams are data-driven. They're looking for risk management as well as performance edge, and they cannot get this into their systems fast enough. We're also using this to validate our product so that we can get into the $12 billion healthcare wearable market. And we're initially targeting geriatrics, pediatrics, as well as nephrology. Once a patient comes into the hospital, besides the things that they are dealing with for the reason why they're in the hospital, they also have to deal with dehydration and overhydration. So about 25 million patients inside the hospital are dealing with improper fluid imbalance. This is costing the hospitals a lot of money and extended days stay for the patients. And what's most terrible is the incredible increase in mortality rate. If we get our systems inside UCSD Healthcare today, we can actually save them $500 million annually. We're looking to enter into the healthcare market in 2021. With the sports and healthcare market combined, we're actually projecting a revenue in 2023 of $130 million. We have an incredible team of athlete scientists. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering with 16 years of experience in optical devices and algorithms. Misha, our CTO, has 20 years experience and does judo and yoga. Chris Ford, our chief engineer, is an ultra marathonist. Ariel Law, our ops BD, has 15 years experience, and she also does Muay Thai. And yes, we do punch each other at the gym. Jake is our customer development and UX expert. We also have the director of sports medicine at USD as one of our sports advisors, and Dr. Yoonji Tong from Harvard and Purdue as our science advisor. We're currently asking for $500,000 in a bridge to our MVP. Most of it will be spent on software development on our analytics side, as well as hardware in manufacturing for our non-reoccurring expenses, such as tooling. Our next goal is to reach our $1.5 million seed, and we will be aiming for cash flow positive in 12 months. We do have an aggressive 5-year plan. This year is our sports launch. Next year, we're going into 510K Class 1 device approval. 2021, we'll be entering healthcare. 2022, we will actually add dialysis centers for our nephrology patients. And 2023, we will have over 100,000 units in the field. I'd like to take this time to thank the SDAC, the hardworking angels, Dr. Sylvia Ma, Misty Rusk, and the entire San Diego community for this incredible opportunity. If you'd like to know more and join us in the quest for better hydration monitoring, please contact me. Hydrostasis, optimal hydration for peak performance. Thank you.
All right, we've got Billy Lister to do the due diligence report. Billy. And a very good looking dog.
Hi, everybody. My name is Billy. I was the lead on the due diligence team for hydrostasis. That's it. Well, what do we like about hydrostasis? I think you're going to hear a lot today that each one of us kind of really loves all the entrepreneurs that are here represented today. Well, we, as the due diligence team for hydrostasis, were no different. We absolutely love Debbie Chen. She displays a lot of the exceptional attributes you want to have in an entrepreneur. She's coachable, she's adaptable, and she's a fighter. Literally, she is a fighter. She will get into the ring and she will do whatever it takes to make her company successful and to build a tremendous business. We also love the potential for a massive healthcare market, and those implications are very widespread. You saw the numbers that she included during her presentation, and those were tremendously exciting and things that we certainly saw as huge positives for the business. We also really love that she meets the key metrics for a traditional angel investment. She's pre-revenue and also can use this angel investment to close out her $500,000 bridge round. So some of the potential risks that we saw, and we actually had to look pretty hard to find some of these risks, was just some difficulty in validating the product and gaining widespread acceptance. It's going to take a lot to accumulate data in terms of proving the validity of the product, and we saw that as a potentially long process as she waded through that. One of the other things we saw was just a questionable ability in scaling the business, getting her go-to-market strategy, targeting the collegiate athletics, could provide some hurdles just in terms of small budgets for college teams, and saw that as a potential risk. And finally, we saw an increasing number of competitors, entering the space, doing similar things, not necessarily in the hydration market, but they have bigger budgets and sometimes greater resources, and saw that as a possible risk. The thing that really stood out for us with hydrostasis was hydration is an immense issue facing the world. We all know that water is essential to life, and dehydration is something that can never be solved. It's a critical human physiological process, and we see hydrostasis creating this monitoring solution to a perpetual health problem, with a potentially uncapped market possibility. Thank you.
All right, good news. We get a 10-minute break while we adjust things around a little bit. Stretch your legs, bio break, and back here in 10 minutes. All right, time to see more companies. Come on back, grab a seat. All right, all you people in the back mucking it up, come on, grab a seat, everybody. I see all you people in the back. Come on. We have a very cool AR, VR technology company about to come up here. Come on. All right, put the stuffed animal down. All right, everybody. We got 4 more companies to take a look at. First 3 were fabulous. The next 4 are as well. So with that, I'd like to welcome to the stage the CEO of Nanome, and that is Steve McCloskey.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, it's so nice to see the San Diego community out here. Really, it's a strong community comprised of groups like Mike with the San Diego Venture Group. Of course, everything new happening with the Brink and SDAC. It's just really amazing to see San Diego come together for these important events, because it's all about community building. It's all about taking San Diego and putting it on the global map. UC San Diego has made a lot of progress lately. A lot of good stuff coming out of that. And I'm actually a graduate from UC San Diego. So a little bit about me. I'm the CEO of Nanome. I'm also a nano engineer. So I'm not a tiny engineer, but I'm an engineer that works on tiny things. And what that means is I'm working with molecules and building blocks that are made out of atoms or hundreds of atoms, thousands of atoms, really everything that's at a scale that's way too small to see. And so while I was going through this experience of becoming a nano engineer and playing video games growing up in the 90s and 2000s, I wanted everything to have better graphics. And when I started using the software, it was all really clunky, hard to use. You have a mouse and keyboard-based input. I started doing customer interviews. I talked with chemists, biologists, medicinal chemists, people in pharmaceutical research. Everybody was having the same problem that I was having. These tools are difficult to use, hard to understand. They don't make any sense. It's so bad that a lot of people just don't ever want to use them. They'd rather do grind and bind or just high throughput screening, ways of just crashing and testing a bunch of things and seeing that it doesn't work in order to see something that might work. But today, we now have Nanome. It's a very intuitive piece of software. It allows you to go into virtual reality. You put on an Oculus or a Vive headset, and now you're inside the nanoscale. You're able to pull up molecules, design better proteins, design better small molecule drugs, collaborate with your colleagues. Anyone around the world can put into the session. And so this is a new way of doing research that's more effective. And not only is it applicable to protein sciences, but also material sciences and anything made out of atoms, which we see every industry is moving towards this nanoscale and precision-based design. So it's not just my word for it. Computational tools actually do save a lot of money for pharmaceutical companies. So we can see there's a lot of studies that have been done that show that if you use a computational piece of software, you're actually going to get a return on your investment of between 3x and 9x. And that's because it really helps, compared to testing a bunch of things, seeing what doesn't work and seeing what works, be able to get validated computational results to show you why something works. And understanding why something works is much more important compared to just knowing if it works or if it doesn't work, because then you could actually use that knowledge to build on to multiple successes. And really, most of the cost of the drugs happen with failures. So if we fail early computationally, we know what works and what doesn't work, and going down a path of 5 years of development and clinical research and putting it in patients and potentially having animals or people dying over this doesn't make any sense. So typically, $1 billion to $2 billion, average cycle of 8 to 12 years. This is what it takes to get a new drug to market. Whether it's Alzheimer's, cancer, dementia, heart disease, any new drug coming to market, there's a huge gap of time that people are actually dying, waiting for their new thing to come online and come available. And so we want to help significantly reduce that and actually have people use the computational software without having a PhD in computer science. A little bit about our business model. So we do work with pharmaceutical companies today. For the most part, they get started with the $50,000 a year package. That's an initial deployment, gets them started, gets the really early adopters up and running. We're getting dozens of scientists at this level that are engaging with the software, excited about the software, bringing their colleagues in there, sharing it, and then going to multiple sites. So we've actually seen this happen with a number of our customers, where they start in San Diego or somewhere in California. They like what we're doing. They get their friends in Boston on it. They get their friends in the Bay Area. They get their friends in Basel, Switzerland. Everybody can now have their virtual avatars working together. So it saves them a few plane flights at the very least. But this is really orders of magnitude better than their current way, which is to use this video stream, kind of like Skype. So everybody's stuck in this early 2000s or 90s generation. When we have modern computers, modern interfaces, there's a new wave of technology that's changing the game. And so we're riding this new wave of technology to get to this scaled deployment level. So this is really 2019 goals of getting to these 6- and 7-figure deployments within pharmaceutical and biotech companies. If you look at the total market opportunity, it's actually really huge. $300 billion a year is spent on pharmaceutical research and development. And of that, there's around $180 billion being spent on just research. And that's what we help out with. We make research more effective, whether it's an individual that kind of has superpowers like Iron Man and VR, able to do things much more rapidly, or if it's a group effort and everybody's just trying to communicate, get on the same page, and know what steps they need to take next. And that's part of the biosimulation market, but then also the collaboration market within research. And we think that from a bottom-up approach, just looking at the number of scientists that we could acquire within large pharma, small pharma, academic, we could get around $800 million in annual recurring revenue from these software licenses. And competitors, there are a few. So the traditional players are up here in the green. So that's like Dassault Systèmes, Schrödinger, really traditional players that mostly came around in the 90s and haven't improved too much beyond that. So everything is still mouse and keyboard based. Some is like vector graphics looking still. But the idea is that their back ends are pretty good. That changes every few years with new computational work, but their front ends haven't changed in at least 20 years. And then there's the newcomers to the space. So NanoSymbox is a really great educational platform, allows you to kind of play with some molecules, learn about it. It's not professional grade. So all these apps fall under the edutainment category, which are kind of like pre-baked experiences, learn about chemistry. But the second you want to design a new drug and import a new protein target and work on some novel research, those tools just don't allow you to do it. And so Nanom is the only solution that's intuitive using modern virtual reality as well as other interfaces. And it gives you the full professional access to be able to do the jobs that the researchers need to do in order to invent a new medicine that's going to save somebody's lives. So we really want to impact the entire industry right here. And a little bit about our traction. So we have 10 paid pharmaceutical sites deployed. Most of those are San Diego, but also around California, the US, and the world. And then we have over 40,000 VR downloads globally. That's a lot of universities. We have 100 universities signed up on the program already. And that really seeds the market and helps grow it. So we've already seen graduate students using this at home on a Vive that then go into a large pharmaceutical company and then want to use our software on a continual basis. And you can see that you can create new molecules, and even the bottom part down here, this is repositioning a molecule. Just grabbing something in 3D space, flipping it around and putting it somewhere else. That's a task that takes hours on a mouse and keyboard, takes seconds in virtual reality. And there's just so many little things like that that add up. It's just an overall great quality experience. So a little bit about our ARR. Right now, we're at a $300,000 annual recurring revenue with our current contracts with biopharma. We're going to be ramping that towards the end of the year with new developments on the platform that allow us to get those 6- and 7-figure deals within pharmaceuticals, as well as just getting more traction in biotech and pharmaceutical companies in general. Our team's really great, mostly from UC San Diego. Myself, I'm a nano engineer. We have cognitive science, computer science, electrical engineering, machine learning. And our CFO is an MBA from USC and brings a lot of management experience to the team. And really, it's not just me over here. Really great team in the back. So I encourage you all to say hi, check out our booth, check out some virtual reality demos, and learn a little bit more about the company. Some features that are coming up that are going to allow us to get that $1 million deal with some of these pharma companies. MedChem Toolkit expands our market 10x because now we can get the medicinal chemists involved using the computational tools. Plugin system basically means anybody could access it without having a PhD in computer science. You just put it on, click some buttons. You're using powerful computational software. And then even the 2D mode that we have right now, making that better because VR is a little bit of a barrier of entry. That's going to go away with the standalone headsets where no wires, no computer, everything's built into the headset with the Qualcomm smartphone processor, and you're good to go. And so we think that 2019 is a really great year, have a lot of momentum, and we're going to finish out the year strong. And so, if you look at some comparable exits, Dassault Systèmes was bought for $750 million a few years ago. Cadence also bought a simulation company. Schrödinger is a competitor in the space. They're still kind of actively raising revenue. So there's a lot of cash flowing into this biosimulation business, and we think there's some really great opportunities here. So right now, we're seeking $1.5 million on a convertible note, 20% discount, $15 million cap. We've already closed on $600,000 of that, so we're just looking to finish out that note. And we really want to expand this year. So it's a huge year for virtual reality, huge year for Nano, and we think that there's a proven market for our software and a proven user base. And right now, it's just an effort of expanding, getting our tools to more researchers, more companies, and they're going to see an increased usage of computational tools, saving them a bunch of money, which means that there's no problem paying us some money. So, hey, let's make San Diego a really amazing community. Obviously, we're all here today, gathering ourselves, trying to do that. And we want to help put San Diego on the map. We're embedded, part of the ecosystem, work with a lot of groups, and we want to continue that in the future and make this all amazing. So thanks for having us, everyone.
No Q&A, buddy. Hey, he's also one of the smartest blockchain guys I know, too. He's kind of a thinker.
Feel free to ask any questions about that, too.
Here to do our due diligence, Michael Kimball.
So I love this company, this product. When I first saw it, I asked Steve, where was he when I took organic chemistry all those years ago? And he said something about preschool. So the product is shipping. It's in pharma companies. The hardware costs are absolutely trivial. A VR headset's $400 or something. It's essentially a pure software play, so it's very scalable. And they've back integrated with all the 2D software solutions out there. So there's no barriers to the market that you can access in the big, large molecule development. Also, they've got, he mentioned very briefly an educational play. It's in a number of situations where schools are using it, professors are using it. It's almost like an open source GitHub repository where people can put in different training tools and so forth. It strikes me as an incredible educational tool. Some potential risks and mitigation. It doesn't seem to me like the commercial sales team marketing and sales plans are robust enough to approach the worldwide market at this point. And they don't really seem to have any plans, at least detailed plans to address that. I think that's easily addressable. There's lots of high-powered salespeople out there that they could hire on a consulting basis and deal with that. We had some hiccups in the due diligence process. Some of it was our fault, timing on vacations and so forth, and having to get all the due diligence done by a hard date for this conference. So there's still some questions to be answered, and so we don't really want to come to a conclusion at this point, but I think it's a fantastic product and they have a good team. Thank you.
You guys figuring out where to park your money? Next up, we've got the CEO of Aquacycle, Oriana Bretschker.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. My name is Oriana Bretschker. I'm the CEO and founder of Aquacycle. And we offer the bioelectrochemical treatment technology, or BET, and our goal is to make wastewater treatment better. The technology I'll share with you today is a result of 15 years of development in our laboratory, $12 million of non-dilutive funds prior to launch. We have been de-risking the technology in the field and real-world applications for over 3 years. And we have a $10 million pipeline expected to close on $2.5 million this year. We are a San Diego-based, woman-owned company, founded at the end of 2016. So, wastewater treatment, not the sexiest topic, not one that typically we think of. However, it's a huge problem. Every gallon of beer generates 4 to 6 gallons of wastewater. Every barrel of wine produced generates 5 barrels of wastewater. 2.6 billion people on the planet, or 1/3 of the world's population, doesn't have access to a toilet. 80% of that wastewater that's generated is discharged directly to the environment, either with minimal treatment or no treatment at all. Obviously, this has tremendous impacts on public health and environmental health. Now, wastewater treatment technologies have been in existence for decades, centuries even. However, the reason that this problem still exists is that most conventional treatment technologies are extremely infrastructure intensive, require a lot of energy to operate, and need very skilled operators. And so this is very true for our industrial customers. So in the food and beverage industry, some of these producers, like Coca-Cola, Mars, Nestle, they may generate waste streams that are up to 300 times more concentrated than what you see in the sewer. Now, it's just sugar, but it is very concentrated sugar. And they will have effluents that are very small volumes, right? So even though you're only discharging, say, 10,000 gallons a day, this concentration is too difficult for conventional technologies or treatment plants to really deal with. So this is the niche where we play, small volume, high strength. Now, what are companies doing now? To manage these waste streams, they either hold and haul, so they have big tanks and big tanker trucks, and they send it off to a landfill or land apply it somewhere. Or they can invest in conventional technologies such as anaerobic digestion, which is supposed to produce methane. You can capture that methane, burn it, produce electricity, and offset the cost of investment. Anaerobic digesters can cost anywhere between $10 and $20 million, capital expense, $300,000 a year to run. And if it's not producing any methane, you have no ROI, and that's often the case in these food and beverage applications. This is where we're changing the game. So we offer plug-and-play technology, which is rented equipment, including a service plan with guaranteed performance as long as you contract service with us. So we provide our customers immediate savings in this problem. Showing you a picture of the system that we have installed in Tijuana, operational since 2016. We are actually generating irrigation quality water in this case. For our industrial customers, we can discharge to a sewer or to a post-treatment system to elevate the water reuse for that plant. The science is based on microbial fuel cell concept. We use naturally existing bacteria already present in the wastewater that we're treating. They start to form fixed films or biofilms on the surfaces inside these reactors. And they start using that surface as a way to breathe. When they're breathing, they give up electrons. we move those electrons across a circuit, producing DC power. And the faster we move energy away, or the more current that we produce, actually makes them breathe faster. They breathe faster, they're eating faster. So the more electricity we produce out of these systems, the faster the treatment rate is. We have significant IP in the space. We have 1 patent awarded. We have 8 patents that are pending. We have 15 years of know-how in the space, including trade secrets on how to scale cathodes, which has been the Achilles heel for everybody else who's tried to commercialize this technology before. So how the science translates into a product is what you see here. So each one of our units is about the size of a standard car battery. And we stack these things together like Legos to increase treatment capacity for quality. We can fit 300 of these reactors inside a 20-foot shipping container. And we just figure out how many containers you need based on the type of wastewater you have and the quality of discharge that's required. As we compare ourselves to the rest of the conventional technologies, as well as our direct competitor, which is Cambrian Innovation, we offer the fastest treatment times. We offer energy recovery as DC power, no methane, don't require any nutrient dosing, and we can deal with high-strength wastewater in a way that no other technology can. We are addressing, we have a serviceable, addressable market of $20 billion. Starting in food and beverage, we have a lot of opportunity. We already have confirmed sales and revenue in the space. As we move forward, we will start to work more with the military. We already have an existing contract with the U.S. Navy. We have our strongest data set in confined animal, which is with swine waste treatment. And then ultimately we can move on to distributed municipal for residential and commercial buildings as we drive down the cost of our production. Our initial targets, we actually have a conversation with Mars that is active. We have been selected as a global initiative within the business unit. We are flying out next week to Tennessee to meet with the operational facility that's going to be using our system there to treat some of their high-strength infection wastewater. We're also in talks with their pet care unit, which is actually larger, and we have some initial discussions going with Coca-Cola. Also have several targets that are local as well as multinational corporations. Our installations to date are in Hawaii, a couple in California, one in Mexico. A contract secured, total $713,000 in revenue to date, and those are contracts signed, not money in the bank. This is a recurring revenue model. So this is firm fixed price or monthly payment. A couple pictures of the type of equipment we're installing. This is at breweries or being shipped to breweries as we speak. And while we are selling direct to customers now, we will eventually graduate to an indirect sales model. We are in talks with some tier 1 partners, specifically a $5 billion water company who I was just meeting with in the UK on Monday, who are interested in being an integration partner with us, opening sales channels in all the different industries that we can address. So, conservatively speaking, if we only sell just over 100 units in a couple different niches within this food and beverage market, we can get ourselves to $35 million in revenue pretty quickly on this recurring revenue model. Our team, myself, my partners, Sophia and Ryoji, have all worked together for several years, have industry and academic experience. We have an amazing board of directors who are both successful entrepreneurs with over decades of experience in the water and maritime industries. Also some terrific advisors and investors. So we are here to close out a second tranche of our convertible note. We're raising $900,000. We've already raised $2.5 million under this note with a $5 million cap. The cap is increased for the second tranche, $6.5 million. Will increase again in April to $7 million. So get in now. We're going to use these dollars to help us scale, as well as help us move through due diligence as we negotiate debt finance to hopefully bypass a Series A round. Of course, the stars have to align to make that happen. But we've been gaining a lot of traction in the industry. So we were voted People's Choice winner at the Sustainable Brands Conference last year. WEFTEC, which is the largest industrial meeting for wastewater. We were the best pitch award winner in the Innovation Pavilion. And we've been recognized as the best new technology for the New Tech Forum, which is an international forum for wastewater and water treatment. So with that, we're very excited to move forward with our BET technology to to make wastewater treatment better.
She needs no introduction. Dr. Ma.
There's a couple of us that did the due diligence, so I wanted to just run through it. I'll make sure. Okay. Wait, back to the pluses first, right? What we love. Again, as echoed by so many of the due diligence teams, the founder, amazing, right? She's come from being a scientist to a business person in about 2 years, and just an amazing traction in that point. So that's the third point there. She has seen, she's shown leaps and bounds, and she is definitely coachable. I'm going to go back up. Traction with customers is remarkable. She's already been in Tijuana for 3 years. So a lot of the questions that she gets is, how long does this last? We know that it lasts 3 years in outside with no covers. And we know that all of the things that she is using are rated to about 15 years. So we know that that's amazing. The traction with Mars and Mars Pets and some other breweries are just remarkable for where she's at. The technology is defensible. It is unique. It is coming from R&D from the Craig Venter Institute here in San Diego. So just an amazing portfolio for that. Going forwards, the potential risks. One is a long sales cycle. She mentioned that. She's going out to Mars. I was on the phone with Mars last year, and they said that it's just going to take a while, and she's now taken a while, and she's almost there. So long sales cycle. That's unfortunate, but she mitigates that by having multiple revenue streams. So you'll see that in a couple of other of the startups here. So she can mitigate that by doing breweries and subsidized by grants that she just mentioned. Number 2 is a business model of debt financing for manufacturing of units. Some people don't like that. Some investors don't like that. So just putting it out there, that is a risk, but the mitigation is that there is a rigorous due diligence by the debt financer that she's going through right now. So she's almost there. And then what really stands out, and she didn't cover it, but in the due diligence, there is attractive opportunity for exits. Exit strategies is huge in the water industry. That was a surprise to us in the due diligence process, but the exits are big. There are exits going on right now. And the outliers are 36x. I know somebody but it's also down to 2. So, it's X means anything right here, right? In angel investing. So just wanted to put that up there for that. And that is the due diligence. Thank you.
All right, good stuff, right? Next up, we've got the CEO of Grow Guru, Mr. Patrick Henry.
Hopefully it works. Hey everyone, now for something totally different. We're in the agriculture technology space, specifically precision irrigation management and monitoring. And what we're really all about is smart irrigation through artificial intelligence. So massive worldwide problem, 800 million chronically undernourished people in the world today. We have to increase our sources of food by 70% by the year 2050 just to keep pace with population growth. And 70% of the world's fresh water supply is already being used for agriculture irrigation. So in order to optimally irrigate crops, you need a lot of information. You need visibility of the water in the ground, understanding of the soil variability, both over-application and under-application of water are a problem in terms of crop yield and crop quality, and you need to know something about the weather. So what do farmers do today? They look at what their neighbors are doing. When are they starting to water? They look at the calendar, what they did last year. They go out and feel the soil. They use these very expensive techniques where they have to send people out into the field to take pressure bombs, which is this little instrument shows here on the right, or soil samples. And about 10% of the market currently uses soil sensors. But the soil sensors that are in use today are cabled from the sensor in the ground to the above ground communication system, which means that they have to be annually installed and removed if you have a destructive harvest crop. So what we're doing that's different is that we're basically have 100% underground wireless technology. That's what this guy is. So we're able to bury this unit. This is the soil sensor, and this is our communications device. This is a proprietary technology that's patent pending. And you bury this below the till depth for field crops, and you can leave it permanently there for multiple seasons. It's got a 5-year battery life. So this is a total game changer for the industry to be able to put the stuff below the till depth as opposed to need for annual install and removal. When you have sensors in the ground, the typical results are about a 20% savings in input costs, including water, fertilizer, and energy, and about a 10% increase in crop yield. So a little bit about us. We've raised $1.5 million in pre-seed funding to date. We're raising a $1.5 million convertible note round right now. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end, but we've got $300,000 already committed on that. 11 employees, about half in San Diego and the rest scattered around California and Midwest. We have a subcontract manufacturing business model, so we're not building our own stuff. We outsource that. We're part of the United Nations Global Compact, and we're going to do about $1.5 million in revenue this year. What we're doing from a patent protection standpoint, this is key technology for us. We have patents in soil sensors and the wireless technology, and then the system enablements around that. Some of the upcoming trials we have are with Microsoft FarmBeats and Corteva. This is the merger of Dow and DuPont that's in the big agri-science space. And then some others, including some of you probably have never heard of, the North Plains Water Protection District in Texas. Last year, we won the Radical Challenge, where over 200 ag tech companies applied, and we won that. And we're a member of the Evo Nexus Incubator. So a little bit about the problem. Knowing when and how much to irrigate is a serious problem in the agriculture industry. And what we've done in the last year and a half is really proven out our technology in perennial crops. These are permanent crops like fruit and nut trees, vineyards, crops that you don't need to destructively harvest. The trees stay there. We're applying all that knowledge to going into the field crop market, which is massively larger than the perennial crop market, and where the solutions that are deployed in perennial crops that require a cable from the underground sensor to the above ground telemetry are a huge problem to scalability. So how it works, we bury the sensor in the ground. Typically, it's in a no-till operation, it's about 18 inches below the soil surface, about 30 inches in an aggressive till-based operation. We have an above-ground system, the telemetry unit, which communicates to a base unit. All that information goes up to the cloud. We add additional data, like weather forecasts, and then we make recommendations to the farmer about when and how much to irrigate. And this underground component of it is a total game changer in this industry. So our product roadmap, the first generation product that we've been shipping for about 1.5 years into the perennial crop market is the same as the other technologies out there that have cables, which is fine in the perennial crop market. But we have a better value proposition because we've designed our own soil sensors that are very cost effective and very accurate and super reliable. We've leveraged that into what we call the Fox Badger. The Badger is the underground component. The Fox is the above ground component. And this has a 5-year battery life where we're able to start penetrating the field crop market. We shipped our first units, and we've actually started commercial deployments of that technology this last week. And then we're in development on a mobile version of the above ground unit where you can actually mount that onto a drone and then just go out and collect the data to each different site where you don't have to have the fixed above ground unit. On top of that, we have software, both from a user interface standpoint as well as an AI standpoint that sits in the cloud. So as the machine learning occurs, you can get more and more data season to season, the recommendations get better and better. So our value proposition versus cable-based sensors, total cost of ownership is lower because you don't have to do the annual install and removal. The solution is more scalable. Right now with a cable-based solution, you have a 4-week window right after seeding where you have to install the sensors and a 4-week window prior to harvest that you have to remove the sensors. So these sensors end up being on 40-acre to 100-acre plots. So there's a lot of driving, a lot of moving around. And that's also when labor is most scarce around those times of the season. With us, you install it in the off season and then just leave it there for 5 years. and then you get the benefits of the increased yield. As you get more and more systems deployed, you get data continuity, which currently doesn't exist, because as you remove and install sensors every year, you never get them back in the same spot. So as you have that undisturbed soil around a sensor, your data gets better and better, and your machine learning gets better and better. And as you get that into a broad scale, you have data aggregation, and the data becomes extremely valuable for things like crop insurance, yield prediction, things like that. Then we get the benefit of the 10% increase in yield, 20% decrease in input costs. So payback period's less than one growing season. In fact, this is about a 16x ROI on average for the farmer every single year that they use this. In dryland farming, which is rain-fed, it's even 8x. So even in rain-fed, it's still a pretty good value proposition. So our business model, we sell the hardware. It's about 50% gross margin on the hardware, 95% gross margin on our subscription service. And we currently sell a combination of direct sales and manufacturers reps. And we're starting to line up key channel partners, both in the perennial crop market in California, as well as the field crop markets in the Midwest. And we're establishing these relationships as we speak. So the market size, irrigated acreage in the US is about 52 million irrigated acres. 44 million of that is field crops. So the vast majority of the market is field crops, where the solutions today really don't work very well. 313 million total acres, and we think we can also penetrate that rain-fed portion of the market. So $2 billion market in the US for these soil sensors system solutions, and a $10 billion market worldwide. And the basic assumptions on that is you deploy sensors in the perennial crops about 1 every 20 acres, and in field crops 1 every 40 to 160 acres, depending upon the situation. So that gives you a deployed cost of $5 to $20 per acre per year. It's an outlier case, but one of the almond farmers we sell to in the Central Valley, he's increased his yield by $1,000 per acre based on a $20 investment. So the market today, all these companies are trying to do an improved way of doing annual install and removal. So our first generation technology, because it was easy to get out, is a cable-based solution with better telemetry, more reliable and cost-effective sensors. And we've leveraged that into the fox badger to break into the field crop market. And then when we go to two-way mobile applications, that will be the owl badger. And there's only about 10% market penetration today in the US market. So big market opportunity. There's no dominant player, no 800-pound gorilla out there that's ready to kill us. Wide open market for the taking. The team, we've assembled a team with domain, technical, and business expertise in this space. My background, I've run 4 different technology startups, had a couple of exits. Farouk and Jeff started the company. Farouk's an expert in machine learning and wireless communications. Jeff's been in the agriculture space for over 30 years doing soil sensors. David Sloan, 20 years of irrigation agronomy experience. And then Vince, just a sales expert that's doing a great job building our channel partnerships. We've built a farmer advisory board of family farmers, business executives in the farming industry that are guiding our product roadmap, and a great set of business advisors as well. Revenue, we did $150,000 in revenue last year. We're expecting to do $1.5 million this year, and then ramping from there. And this is based on even our phase 1 deployment of the wireless underground system. It can get pretty big. So we're raising $1.5 million in a convertible note. There's the basic terms. It's to continue to do product development as well as roll out our product from a channel standpoint. That's it.
All right, here to do our due diligence, Mr. Benton Moore.
Hi, everyone. I'm Benton Moore, and I don't know what Mike's talking about. I think due diligence is fun. And we've been getting to know Grow Guru for the last 3 months intimately, and there's a lot to love. First, I want to say thanks to my due diligence team, David Martin, Chris Pascal, and Sumner Webster, who's not here, but here in spirit as always. So let's dive in. What do we like about Grow Guru? There's a lot to love. First of all, when you're looking at startups, you want to find a problem and then find a team that can solve that problem. And I think we have all three of those things here. As Patrick said, there's a global need. This is a massive marketplace, a $10 billion market need. Water conservation and food scarcity are two of the biggest problems on the planet. So there's a huge need. They developed a product that directly addresses those. It's an efficiency play because you're actually reducing the inputs and increasing the outputs. It's a very, very, I would say, elaborate system, but a very simple solution. They're incorporating artificial intelligence, and what we came to know as we looked at the company is it's not just a hardware company, but there's a software and data collection component that's maybe more valuable than the hardware down the line. And finally, the people. You just heard from Patrick. He's a seasoned CEO. I always look for invested management, and this management team has put their own money, their own time, they're experts in their respective fields. And I've watched them over the last 3 months execute, from little things like delivering documents to closing deals and shipping their first commercial product last week. So a lot happening. It's a startup, so there are no such thing as straight lines in startups. There are going to be some risks and some chaos to embrace. First of all, this is hardware. You're selling hardware to farms. Hardware is hard to begin with, and throwing farms, it's even more complicated. They've mitigated this, which is long sales cycle, by creating a distributor network, huge ROIs for the farmers, so it's a no-brainer decision. And then, as I mentioned, the recurring revenues in the software component, the SaaS, is amazing. Another concern or risk is other competitors are developing similar IP, but they have defensible IP, the first mover advantage. At their market cap, I don't see that being a problem. So to recap, when I asked my due diligence team, what's the one thing that stands out? We had about 6 things, and it was hard to distill it down to one thing. So it's kind of an intersection of a lot of hot topics right now, a lot of buzzwords I will not say. Unfortunately, blockchain's not one of them. But you can see on the screen what some of them are that I still won't say. But we feel really lucky with the timing of this company and the momentum that's behind it. We feel like we're piggybacking on, as angels, onto institutional funds. Some of the other valuations for companies that have been acquired are in the 10 to 30x multiples. We think that GoGuru is very much an acquisition candidate. When we started the fund, we were looking for, by design, one company that could deliver 10x over 5 years. And we found one company in GoGuru that can do that.
All right. So one of the things you may have noticed, and one of the things that I love about San Diego, is just the breadth of companies we have here in the startup community. You saw software, genomics, green tech, blue tech, there's been telecom, and now we get you to therapeutics. So with that, the CEO of Navega Therapeutics, Ana Moreno.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Moreno, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Navega Therapeutics, where we are tackling the opioid epidemic with our patented gene therapy for chronic pain. There are currently more people suffering from chronic pain in the US than cancer, diabetes, and heart disease combined, with 1 in every 3 Americans suffering from chronic pain. And opioids have been the recurrent treatment to treat chronic pain. However, these have failed us. In the past decade, we've seen a 300% increase in opioid prescriptions without any change in reported pain. Every 1 in 4 people that are prescribed opioids becomes addicted. This has caused a huge economic burden, not only due to the loss of workforce, but also the cost of healthcare. And sadly, over 120 Americans die each day of an opioid overdose. However, going beyond the statistics, this is really a story about people. These are people that we've interviewed in our market validation that have been interested in our therapy. Sophie's a 19-year-old college student that has facial chronic pain after a car accident. Brian is a 35-year-old Uber driver. He's told us that he takes 3 different kinds of opioids, but his pain level is still level 4. And Joanne is a cancer patient that has come really close to stopping her life-saving chemotherapy, because of the amount of pain that she's in. So we are in dire need of a new treatment for chronic pain. This is why at Nevea, we have developed a highly specific, non-addictive, long-lasting pain gene therapy for chronic pain. It is highly specific because it only targets the gene of interest. It is non-addictive because it doesn't target the opioid receptors in the brain. And it is long-lasting. What we've seen is up to a month so far. So how does it work? There are human beings that actually have a mutation in their genome that feel no pain whatsoever. So we were inspired by this and thought, how can we replicate this in people with chronic pain in a non-permanent way to provide pain relief? But how does pain work in general? There are stimuli detected by specific neurons called nociceptors that can detect changes in pH, heat, or cold. This initiates a signal that propagates to the brain. It is first, however, processed through the dorsal root ganglia, which are cell bodies in your spinal cord, before it is felt in the brain as pain. Because it is processed through the dorsal root ganglia, we will be giving patients intrathecal injections, very similar to an epidural, that will provide at least 1 month of pain relief. So we've done over 3 or 4 years of proof of concept, and I've done these experiments in hundreds of mice, and very excited that it works in preclinical animal models. We've shown that the animals that receive our therapy not only have higher pain tolerance, but they also have lower pain levels. Obviously, there are other competitors out there targeting the same gene for the same reason as us. These, however, utilize either small molecules or antibodies. Small molecules, however, are highly unspecific, bind everywhere in the body, and come with a lot of side effects. Antibodies, on the other hand, although these tend to be highly specific, they usually lack the potency for the pain relief that it's needed. And this is where our competitive advantage comes in. Not only are we highly specific, but we're also long-lasting and potent as well. In terms of intellectual property, we have 2 patents licensed. The first one, it covers genome engineering platform for not only this pain, but could also be expanded onto other disease, as well as a second patent for a way to evade the immune system to prolong the efficacy. I'm also submitting 2 more patents. One will be a second platform for genome engineering, and the second one will be a way of prolonging the half-life of small molecules. I'm actually also talking to a pharmaceutical company in town about licensing complementary technology from them as well. There's a huge US market opportunity, as you can imagine. $155 billion represents chronic pain in the US. Of that, we're focusing on the $7 billion market of inflammatory chronic pain because we demonstrated that technology works specifically under this pain model in mice. We believe that our early adopters will be the 200,000 people that have morphine catheters in their spinal cord that receive over 40 kilograms of morphine each year. We will follow a traditional business model that other pharmaceutical companies like us follow, where we would distribute our drugs to doctors and hospitals, which will administer to patients. Patients will then pay back with the help of insurance. We will have a recurring revenue model, as I mentioned, lasts around at least 1 month. So we will have a recurring revenue model. And we will be building strategic partnerships with larger pharmaceutical companies in order to enable global distribution. In terms of reimbursement, there are actually already existing CPT codes that cover some of the technology that I mentioned. A really recent one is the injection of a therapeutic for pain relief. There are other CPT codes as well that cover the whole cost of pain clinics, such as new patient evaluation, as well as follow-up and treatment. In our corporate development, currently we're raising a seed fund of $500,000 through SBIR grants, as well as angel investment and family and friends. This money is going to cover our moving from UCSC into JLabs, where we were accepted. This money will help us reach our next fundamental milestone, which will be start our large preclinical animal trials. Our large animal preclinical trials include, for example, efficacy studies in a pig model, which is closer to humans, and then non-human primates, which is required by the FDA to ensure that our therapy is safe in non-human primates. This means that we will be able to file as an investigational new drug with the FDA in around 4 years from now, after which we will commence our human phase 1 and 2 and 3 human clinical trials. Some exit opportunities for pharmaceutical companies such as ours tend to be after human phase 1 clinical trials or during human phase 2 and 3. After the phase 1, this means that your therapy is already safe in humans, and this is why there's a lot of value creation after that point. And some actual examples of this from some recent acquisitions in the pain space. So as you can see, in terms of stage, companies get acquired everything from preclinical up to
human-based preclinical trials. And what we see also is an increase in deal value the further along you go in human clinical trials. You see Eli Lilly is actually really interested in acquiring pain companies because they have a large pain portfolio. We were actually already able to talk to them in Palo Alto. So for us, that would be a strategic partnership or a possible exit in the future. In terms of the use of funds for this $500,000, what we're looking at, as I mentioned, is to move into J Labs. With this money, we will expand into one last long-term experiment in mice. We tested that our therapy works up to 1 month, but we will see if we do a long-term experiment, six months to a year, how long the therapy can actually last. This money will also cover IP costs and salaries as well. In terms of revenue projections, although we are really far away from the market, these are some assumptions upon entering the market. Our initial target are 200,000 patients with morphine catheters in their spinal cord. This is a market. This will have a market annual growth of around 9.8% due to the increasing aging population. The cost per year of an intrathecal pump is around $40,000. If we can acquire 2% of that market and an anticipating adoption growth of 2%, we believe that we can reach $160 million upon entering the market for the first indication. In terms of company traction, we've raised non-dilutive funding via pitch competitions of $112,000. We've been parts of incubators out of UCSD, such as My Startup XX and the IGE, as well as the NSF I-Corp program. We are accepted into J Labs incubator, which we'll be moving into in July. And as of last week, we also have now evidence that it not only works in inflammatory chronic pain, but it also works in neuropathic pain as well, as our collaborator just sent us some data, which is really exciting. We have a really cool team. My name is Ana Moreno, the CEO and co-founder. I'm a PhD candidate of bioengineering at UCSD, graduating next month, actually. I bring over 6 years of, I bring over 6 years of experience in gene therapy and molecular biology. Dr. Prashant Mali, the co-founder, is a gene therapy expert. He came out of the Dr. George Church lab out of Harvard, and also has experience starting startups and also raising money for those startups as well. Dr. Fernando Aleman over there is a CSO. He has a PharmD and PhD and brings over 10 years of experience in pharmacology. Dr. Tony Yatra, our scientific advisor and pain expert, he's amazing, over 40 years of experience in pain. He's also actually an advisor at the NIH for the whole opioid epidemic. And Randy Woods, our business advisor, brings obviously business advice. He's a CEO of Sapphirus, a serial entrepreneur, and is helping us start our raising money with VCs as well. In summary, we have a really dynamic team with scientific and business expertise, a clearly defined path to market. There's a huge market opportunity, clear competitive advantage and know-how, 2 patents licensed from UCSD, promising results in now 2 different pain models, and non-dilutive funding obtained. At Navega, we believe that patients do not have to decide whether they live a life of pain or one with the risk of addiction. Thank you for your time.
And our due diligence man, Jason Scharf.
Hi, so I'm Jason Scharf, the due diligence lead for Navega. I first want to thank Chris, Robin, and Michelle, who are on the due diligence team with me to help us kind of dig through this. So first, like everyone else, what do we love? Well, as she kind of talked about with the opioid crisis, the idea of a longer acting, effective, non-addictive therapy that can address pain management is a big deal. Like the unmet needs in this market, the pain market's $150 billion and it's really not working well. The second thing is there's early stage technical validation. She showed you the mice models that have shown it works. Now the second pain model, it works. So in the early stage that they're at, there is evidence that it does actually work. We like third-party validation. In fact, they were accepted into J Labs. The fact that a large pharmaceutical company is asking them to in-license their drug to be able to take it through the same process. So when you have something this early and this technically risky, it gets, when other people are looking at it and showing the positive aspects of it, it's really a big validation point for us. Something else that she kind of, I think, briefly went over, but I think is a really good point is this technology is a platform play. Their first role is in pain, but this idea of gene expression and being able to turn on, upregulate and downregulate these genes for these effects, I think has lots of big potential. Risks, as Anna mentioned, she's getting her PhD, defending her thesis in a few weeks. So she's first time CEO, kind of really new to this space. But I think it's a very strong advisory team, and definitely as I've been interacting with her, someone who's very coachable, and I think the leadership team is very flexible, understanding where their needs are and where their strengths are. This is less, I think, to do with Navega and more specifically to do with the fact that the San Diego Angel Conference is non-industry specific. So when you look across all of the different companies that we've been looking at, that Navega is the earliest stage technology and the longest ramp way. But that being said, it's also probably one of the only ones that could have an exit pre-revenue. And I think they have a very measured research plan that covers efficacy, safety, duration, and further applicability. The last part, something that's kind of wasn't mentioned here, they are using one of the possible methods is CRISPR, and they require a license for that. Currently, if you're following the news at all, the UC Berkeley and the Broad Institute are engaged in significant legal battles about who actually is the right patent holder. And so that muddies the space a tiny bit, but I think they have strong legal counsel who's kind of advising them on the right way to kind of approach that license before it gets all settled. The biggest thing that really stands out, the opioid crisis has exposed significant deficiencies in the way we currently manage pain. And I think this technology can bring relief to patients, physicians, society, stakeholders. Is it safer, effective, longer acting, and most of all, non-addictive? Thanks.
All right, 7 cool companies. This is where it gets fun. So if you're an investor, you are going to find Natalia, and she is going to take you back into the room where you can air out all your grievances and pick a winner. If you're not one of those people, there's going to be a People's Choice Award too. So you've all got Sylvia bucks on your table. There's 7 bags. You only use $1 per person. Look at it as if you had money to invest. Which one would you invest in? And we will pick a winner. So we'll take like a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back, keynote, and give away some money. Come on, people. I know you're restless. Come on. Oh. Where did I write this down? Come on back. Yeah. Look at this. I'm here the whole time. Come on, folks. Everybody back. I see you in the back. Come up front. Grab a seat. Let's go. Don't make me come back there. Come on. All right, folks. Wouldn't be bad. Hey, guys, let's go, everybody. In the back. Come on up. Everybody grab a seat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker here today, Mr. Freddie Machado. So Freddie, in his life, has done 9 different startups. At one point in time, or over time, he's had over 8,000 employees. He's going to talk a little bit about his life journey and what led him to sell all of his business, and is now an expert on the science of happiness, which I very much look forward to hearing. So thank you for coming, Freddie.
Hi, everyone. I have my water here just in case I got nervous. And, anyway. You probably don't understand my jokes. I'm not from here. I'm from Brazil. So excuse me with my accent. And also excuse me if I commit any mistakes. Will happen, for sure. I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you very much, Misty, for the invitation. Cindy, to introduce me to Misty. And I hope at the end of this not too serious conversation, you have a little bit more about not just money, but a little bit more about happiness and money. I'm Freddy Machado. Machado is really getting famous in San Diego now. My cousin's coming to play for Padres, which is really nice. He's not my cousin. It's just the name is the same, the last name. But I do public speaking all over the world, mainly in Brazil because Portuguese is easier for me than English. I'm a mentor. I have a consulting firm, author. I have just one copy of my English book, investor, and serial entrepreneur. I had a couple of companies in my past. And the only thing that qualifies me more today is that I'm someone that really loves people. I really love people. And you understand more about that later. As I was telling you before, kind of nervous to be here talking to you guys today, but for sure I have 7 other people. They're probably more nervous than me. They're waiting for the results, and in a couple of minutes, they'll know if they'll have the 200. Oh, there's not here anymore. Someone stole. And it was not the Brazilian. It's too big to put in my pocket, so it was not me. You're probably feeling like this guy. Someone know who is this guy? This guy is Philippe Petit. 1974, this guy walked not once, not twice, but 8 times between the Twin Towers in New York in a hard wire. And he did that after he had trained more than 200 times. And he just stopped because a cop came to him and got him arrested. This is our life as entrepreneurs. We are every day living in a hard wire walk. Investors are the same. They're putting their money in something that they don't know if it will happen or not. Some products that they don't know if it's good or not. Some services that probably someone will copy, and at the end of the day, you lose your entire money. I did that in the past. But this is life. As soon as the winner came here with the $200,000 check, he'll go back home and he or she will not sleep tonight because she'll have to deal with this money and do everything that they promised to do in the paper and the pitch for everybody that is here in this room today. A little bit more about me. So I was famous back in 2013. I had everything. I started work when I was 14 years old. I was really bad at school. And then my father told me, yeah, you don't want to study? Go to work. So he thought that probably that was a punishment for me. But I really loved to work. Why? Because he put me to work with people. And then I liked that so much that I started to know more about people and know what people like, what people want, and what people love. I received some prizes. And the best one was back in 2012, end of 2012, beginning of 2013. I received an invitation to be a young global leader for the Economic Forum. I said, why me? A Brazilian living in the northeast of the country by that time. And I just discovered the why answer after what happened to me later that year. Little bit of background. I had 9 companies in the past, mainly Brazilian companies. But I have joint ventures with American companies, UK companies, and Dutch companies. I had more than 8,000 employees. I was looking at the lawyers saying about the California employment thing. She doesn't know the Brazilian employer thing. It's a nightmare. You can lose everything that you construct your entire life because of the labor legislation in Brazil. It is a nightmare. My revenues back in 2013 was $500 million. But for you guys here is nothing, right? $500 million in US, everybody can do it. In Brazil, it's a lot of money. 21.5% EBITDA. That was crazy to do. And I can guarantee to you guys, I never cheated my taxes. I paid everything. So this is real number. We had an accountant firm doing our books every year. We are almost public, so this is true. But I end up like this. After 30, not 30, my math is terrible now after I close everything. But I was 38 at this picture. I was at Mount Auburn Hospital in Boston. I was in my first unit of OPM, which is Owner's President Management Program at Harvard. And my heart said to me, okay, guy, you've been working a lot. You did a lot of good things. A lot of companies, a lot of employees, a lot of success, a lot of fame, a lot of money. But there is a price to pay. And I paid my price back in 2013. And the most interesting thing that happened was after 49 hours at this hospital and a line between my chest here, they're really ready to open my chest and to make a heart surgery. I was so, I don't know the word in English, but I was scared as hell. I was thinking about my 4-year-old daughter, thinking about my parents, my friends, my wife, everybody. And the reason why I was there, for me, was not clear. But when I was released of that hospital, an Indian doctor came to me and said, I know your problem, and it's not a health problem. You have something that is epidemic nowadays and nobody paying attention to. You are unhappy, and this unhappiness will kill you. So, okay, that's interesting because I have everything I want. I have everything that money can buy. Why am I unhappy? I realized that I was completely unhappy because I was driven my entire life and career based on money. I love money, by the way. And I'm not saying that to you okay, now you don't like money anymore. No. It's just a different way to earn the money. So I was lucky enough to be at Harvard and met Professor Boris Groysberg, which is a Russian professor, really knowledgeable guy that teach us about talent management, not HR, but talent management. And I answered this questionnaire regarding how to balance your life, work-life balance. And I was completely, again, unhappy with the result. 3,594 executives, 57 countries, 56% male, 44% female. And the answer of this questionnaire with this research that took 4 years for him to do was, it is completely impossible to have a successful professional life and a successful personal life. 100%. And then I was like, okay, that's enough for me. And how we can be happy, productive, money, life, how can we do that? So far, we have no answer for that. But I discovered some path that is what I'm taking for me now, that is helping me to be a better person, integrate my life more with my professional side and my personal side. One is I discovered what this purpose means. When someone said to me before 2013, you need to find your life purpose. You need to find what you love. I look at this person and said, come on, shut up. You know, I have 8,000 employees to take care. I have my companies. I don't want to think about this kind of purpose stuff. Why? And after the doctor said to me that I was completely unhappy with the life that I was living, I discovered why. I was unhappy because my purpose was completely deviate from what I love. So when you have a purpose, you have passion, you have mission, you have something that you really love, something that you're really good at, or what the world needs. It's not just you, it's everything that is around you. When you have purpose, you can have a way more money than we're making now. Because when you do that, you become an authentic leader. And each one of the startups here, each one of you that has a company or pertaining to open a company, if you're not an authentic leader, you will not have someone that will follow you, that will work for you with the passion that you have to create your own business. When you create your own business, it's like a son, a daughter, a wife, father or mother. You treat that puppy as a person, and you do whatever you have to do to make your business, this puppy, grow healthy, happy, with a lot of energy to produce more and more and more. Without a purpose, without being authentic, you will not be able to get the people that will work with you with the same passion, the same energy to do everything that they have to do. And why this is important? Again, who wants to be a billionaire? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So if Peter Diamond from Singularity University says, if you want to be a billionaire, sell $1 product to 1 billion people. It seems easy, right? But if you want to be whatever you want to be, if whatever amount of money you want to have, this is something that you have to be in your mind. Those are your clients. Those are your partners. Those are the people that will be working with you to make you a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever amount of money you want to have. So if you don't love these kind of things, if you don't love people, if you think that machine will be the one taking care of everything, you probably will not be here in a couple of years. Machine will help us. It's helping us to be more conscious about it, about a lot of things, to be more healthier, to our life expectations are growing every year. So you need to love people in terms of being successful. I had a lot of great, taking from everyone that came here to stage today, talking about their startups. That's brilliant. Really taking care about what is important. Serving people, food, water, genomics, everything, pain. We all suffer for that, and we all need that. And why is important to keep those people happy, and why is important for you to be happy? Another study from Harvard says that a happy person produces 1/3 more than an unhappy person. If you have a company and you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire, want to make this company successful, why you want to have unhappy people working for you? There's no need, no mean to have unhappy people working for you. It's not me that is saying that to you. This Happiness today is science. You know, you can study that, you can measure that. So 1/3 happy person produce 1/3 more than a unhappy person. I discovered my purpose of life back in 2013, and I want to do this as much as I can everywhere that I go. I sold all my businesses from 2013 until 2015. I stopped to write a book. I wrote a book in Portuguese, which is this baby here, and I translated my book to English. And this is kind of not funny, please, but anyway. I translated that because in the process to get a visa to come to US to study, the government asked me, if you have a book in Portuguese, how come you don't have a book in English? We need to see your book in English. So I translated my book, couple of copies of my book in English, and I'll give this one for the winner. So the one that wins the 200,000, we have this one here that is, I can guarantee to you, worth more than $200,000. And I came to San Diego for a cause. I came to San Diego because my life purpose said to me, I start to believe in a lot of things that you don't have to believe. Just think about it. The universe conspires for something to happen in your life when you're open to it. Back in 2017, I was in Orlando, Florida with my entire family spending Christmas and New Year's, seeing the Mickey Mouse. And this friend from here, from San Diego, called me and said, hey, Freddie, you know what? I need you here. I said, you need me there for what? We are working on this big project for Access. I know that you're passionate for that, and I need you to come here to help me run this organization. And I came to San Diego 8 months ago to help my friend Renato and Access Youth Academy to build this $13 million project that we're about to start this summer. Access, we work with underserved youth. It's a 12 years promise that we have with them from 7th grade until 2 years post-college. We get those kids, we do education and sport with them after college, after school, and we help them to go to Ivy League schools. So imagine, it's so sad. We were talking with Jeremy during lunch about what is happening, but just, the news was saying that people are buying these spaces on colleges, and when you saw that with our kids, it's really sad. But anyway, it's not the topic today. So I came here to follow my passion, following my purpose of life, to help those kids to have their own house, to have their own home, to study, and to scale our program to serve 10 times more kids than we're serving today. So this is what I came here to do. I still have my businesses there. This week, I was not there, but one of my co-founders of a startup that we started work last year, they were in Austin presenting our startup for a couple of investors. The same thing that you guys are doing here. And I am not allowed to be in this kind of things anymore as a startup, because I love everyone. I love people. And everything that is related to people, I want to help. So everybody here that has all the 7 companies, you're all helping people. So I'll be completely devastated. I'll probably get the 200 and split to 7 of you and say, okay, let's see what happens. So they don't allow me to be at that anymore. But I still have this business with me, and I really want to just say last words for you guys. First of all, if you don't have a purpose, if your company, instead of a mission that you put in your company, put a purpose of existence of your company, and then you find people that will follow this purpose. It'll be a way easier for you to hire people to work for you. It'll be way easier for you to sell your business everywhere because you have a purpose. Don't put money as your main goal for everything. It's nice. I love money. I love earn money, and you guys have to do that too. But don't do that. Money is a vehicle that will push you forward to whatever thing you want to achieve, but it's not everything. I was driven by money and I almost died. And I am here talking to you, but for sure, there is a lot of other people that died or had problems because of that. And the last one is, whatever happens after my speech, I see that the investors are coming. They already have the decision. So whatever happens after these, or whatever happens with the result, whoever get the check, don't forget to get my book. Just one. And the last thing is, the ones that were not able to win this prize, don't give up. Don't give up. This is not everything. Every day that I went to work in the, before what I had, I thought that was the, if this deal will not happen, it's gone. If this money will not happen, it's gone. Or if this employee goes away, it's gone. It's not gone. It will be gone for you if you let everything be bigger than you. Realize that. You have to be the balance of your company. You don't have to carry all the weight that the company will put on you, because it's a lot of responsibility. Not just the employees, but the investors and everything else. And be happy. No one's likes to work in a place that you have a lot of sad faces when you arrive, especially now that the offices are all open, aquariums everywhere. You can see the unhappiness everywhere. Don't do that to you. Don't do that with your employees. Again, thank you very much, Misty, for having me, Cindy, to introduce me to these lovely people. I'll be around if you have anything else to talk. And congratulations to all startups here today. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Leave the book. All right, the message for the rest of the day is to channel your inner Freddie. Absolutely. Oh, thank you, sir. So I got the pleasure of sneaking in on the judges, and they're in a super little tight room. They looked super tense, so hopefully they got to a good decision. But before we do that, we can't do this without our sponsors, and we have one key title sponsor that really stepped up in a big way, and that was Mints. And to say a few words about Mints, I'd like to invite Sebastian Ducier up to the stage as he comes very dramatically. Yes, thank you.
Well, hey everyone, I'll try to keep this short since I know I'm delaying the inevitable announcement of the winner. But I just wanted to say how happy that we are to support the angel investors and small companies here in San Diego. We do a lot at Mints to stay active in the small company arena. I personally also teach the entrepreneurship clinic here at USD. And so I see a lot of different companies come through my doors. I always tell my students, keep in mind that no one has an ugly baby. That this is someone's baby. This is someone's precious thing that they have put their heart and soul into. And it may need some work. It may need some guidance. But there's some spark there that you should respect and try to cultivate and grow. And so to see this winnowing process of 93 companies that we started with, winnow down slowly into these 7 companies, all of whom I think are very strong companies with a lot of great ideas, a lot of great technology, and amazing leadership. It's just been a great process. So it's really been a privilege to be part of this. I'm really happy to have been involved and look forward to presenting the check and hopefully seeing this happen again next year. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, the moment you've all been waiting for. So we had all the companies were fantastic. So please, we'd like to invite all the CEOs up here so you can be part of the drama. Come on. Single file. All right, we're missing a couple. Can't win if you're not present. And so Misty actually wanted me to read who the winners were, but I just think that is ridiculous. So Misty, where are you? Get your butt up here, Misty. Yes. All right. Here we go first. So first is the People's Choice Award. Let's see how smart you folks are.
See whether or not you're good investors and see if this vote matches up. So the winner of the People's Choice Award, or what I like to call the Ma Money, is Aquacycle. And then if we can have the due diligence team come up with the checks, like our due diligence leads, if you guys can all stand and come on up here, that would be great. When to do that.
Come on, due diligence people.
So come up and stand by your team. Because at this point, it really is a partnership. We've worked long enough with these companies that now we're all in the boat together with these companies. So absolutely. Oh, they're over on this side. Okay. All right. So
you ready?
The winner of the 2019 San Diego Angel Conference is also Aquacycle.
Now what? Oh, we got a check. Come on.
Good job.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a check. Okay. Is anybody take a picture? Right. And Mince, come. Well, Sebastian, not Mince, right?
Oh, Sebastian.
Sebastian Mince.
Yes.
Yeah, Misty. Well, we can we get right? We're good. Good. Thank you.
Guys, put them in front of these guys. Come on up here. Cheese. All right. And once again, thank you to Misty, everybody here at USD. I saw Regina walking around. There she is, the SBDC. And now is my favorite part of the program, cocktails. Out on the patio, hang out, have some fun, meet some people, and thank you all for coming. Oh, somebody forgot their book.